Okay, guys. Jill, we are recording. Good evening, everybody. This is the February 22nd meeting of the Battery Park City Committee, Community Board One. My name is Justine Puccia. I'm the chair, and my co-chair is Jeff Galloway. And people in the room are on the, most of them are on my committee, and some are speakers and guests. So we're going to jump right in. I don't see too many people online who don't know what's going on already, but the way this operates is by Robert's rules. So I will have all the attendees on mute. And when you want to speak, raise your hand. What you can do, we'll call on you. I promise I'll be looking. And you will go and I'll call on you after everybody in this room goes. And then we have a few people on the board who are online, and they will have to be able to go first. But don't worry, I will call on you. You will have a chance to speak. So thank you for your patience. And I think we might want to get going. So I'm going to introduce Nick Spordone, the Battery Park City Authority. It's nice to see you in person.
You guys, it's so good to be back, right? We were here.
Trooper.
Yeah, I was, and then just to be back generally at the committee, because usually we've been doing these things remote, so it's great to see everyone. I won't belabor it. I wanted to thank everyone for the invite and to introduce Pam Frederick, who, as you may recall, was last with us here at the committee, I believe in September. Justine graciously invited us back. Pam even more graciously said, yes, let's do it again. So Pam, thank you. We're gonna jump right into the presentation. It's not super long, but I did want to make sure we had a good enough time. Pam's time with us tonight is not super limited, but it's not unlimited. So we have her for the next, let's say 45-ish minutes or so, 7-ish roughly. But I wanted to make sure that we went through the presentation and then opened it up for any questions as part of kind of an ongoing dialogue with the community to make sure folks are clear about how our finances work, what they are, what they're not. And with that, Pam, unless there's anything else, we can, I think, jump right to you.
Great. If you can hear me, can you see me? I can't see myself, so I'm not sure if I'm showing up there.
Okay.
And you should see the presentation. Ready?
Okay, great. So thanks so much for the invitation to come back. We're always happy to have discussion with CB1. You guys do great work. One of the things that we wanted to start with this time, and I think it may help as we get further along into the presentation, is just kind of give you a framework for Battery Park City Authority. We are a public benefit corporation, and our mission, as many of you know, is to plan, create, coordinate, and sustain. And we're really in the sustain portion of our mission. To sustain a balanced community of commercial, residential, retail, and park space for Battery Park City. And I say we're in the sustain because we are just over our 50th year anniversary, and much of the early part of our work was the planning and creation of Battery Park, and many of you have been here since the beginning, so you will have seen us grow from what was beachfront, well, actually dilapidated piers, to where we are now, which is a thriving, beautiful waterfront community. So that community sits on 92 acres, which is owned and managed by Battery Park City Authority, and we largely execute our mission under by entering into ground leases and with building developers who in turn built the buildings, certainly that many of you are live in. The authority has built most of the general infrastructure of the park space, but under the ground leases with each of the buildings, there are a stream of payments associated with having the right to that land, and that includes the ground rent, pilot, and then civic facilities maintenance, as well as some performance-based retail and other rent. The two major components, as you'll see as we go through, is ground rent. And ground rent is negotiated under each lease, and and it compensates the authority, which is a state authority, so it's in essence the state, for the value of the land that we've leased. And as a fiduciary, we pursue revenues that are commensurate with our land values. The second and the largest component of our revenue stream is pilot, and that pilot stands for payment in lieu of taxes. And those taxes really are commercial and residential real estate taxes. If the authority didn't sit in the middle, if you will, those taxes would flow directly and 100% to New York City. But what New York City Council does is they set the tax rates, as you well know, and the New York City Department of Finance will determine the building assessment. So the combination of the tax rate times the building assessment determines what the pilot on any given space is. All right, so we can go to the next slide, which you have, just to talk about the funding framework. And so when we talk about pilot and ground rent, basically it's the mega box, which is pilot, forms about 80% of the revenue. And then the other 20% is ground lease revenue. And then there's, of that, it's a sort of a split of 15% ground rent, 5% other. But together that 100% is what the authority uses to pay for its operating budget, as well as the debt service on our underlying debt. And then any excess above that, the remaining amount is then paid to New York City and or New York State pursuant to a settlement agreement. So we'll go to the next slide. So the next slide is sort of, if you see on the left, is the settlement agreement. And we always kind of like to start here because it sort of sets the framework for where does all this money go. You'll see on the left, the smaller slice is what goes towards our operating budget and debt service, as we noted on the prior page. And then the remaining funds, that larger portion, the majority of that goes to New York City's general fund, and it's sort of reflective of the proportion of pilot of those remaining excess revenues. And so that is still a very large amount. And then the amount over that goes to what's called the joint purpose fund. And the joint purpose fund is determined every, I'm going to say periodically. The last one was determined, as you'll see on the right-hand side, in 2010. That was called the 2010 agreement. So New York City and New York State need to determine how are they going to split the, what's the most appropriate split for the excess revenues. And so at that time, that split was determined to go both to New York City and New York State. The obligations under that 2010 agreement were fulfilled in 2021, so that no longer exists. And so what happens is, as that, you know, we look over here on the left, that little circle that says joint purpose fund, now that's just filling a joint purpose fund reserve, and that is held until New York City and New York State determine what happens to those funds. Historically, and what we suggest is that those joint purpose funds can go toward affordable housing. That really remains to be determined by the state and the city, but I think a good indication of that, where we say new agreement to be determined, it's because we don't have a defined amount yet. It's just going to continue to accumulate until that is signed. We believe that'll happen this year. But of the money that we have in that joint purpose fund for now, $5 million of it has been earmarked to support affordable housing at the World Trade Center 5. So 5 World Trade Center will get $5 million. How they use it, that's not for us to determine, but it has been earmarked. We have set it aside as a reserve. When we get the request from the state or the city to tell us where that money goes, then we will pay that out. And then the remaining is what the city and the state is still determining. And hopefully we'll have an update for that, certainly in the course of our fiscal 2024. Or the sooner the better, because we'd like to put the money to work in support of New Yorkers. If we go to the next slide, I will go over this one pretty fast. We talked about what happens to the joint purpose funds. We'd like it to go towards affordable housing. It remains to be seen. I think it is leaning that direction, but we don't have clear guidance on that yet. The larger portion that goes to New York General Fund, New York City General Fund, where I made that akin to the proportion of excess revenues that are pilot, which is the lion's share, about 80% is what I noted. So on this page, we're just highlighting some of the primary city departments that support not only Battery Park City, but all of New York City. So we have some schools in Battery Park City. We have Department of Education, sanitation comes through and does cleanup. Police department, obviously that is important everywhere in the city, but while Battery Park is certainly a wonderful place to live, everyone, residents and people who work there want a safe environment. So they can use that general fund to support the overall city budget. So we just highlighted some of the key ones: Department of Transportation, Environmental Protection, which we work with very closely as we're developing the resiliency projects. They've been extremely supportive of the work that we've been doing, and I think all of that, as you know, will go to the benefit of Battery Park City residents and businesses, other investors, and people who work and enjoy the space. New York City buildings for permits. And so this is not all inclusive, but it certainly reflects some of the major departments that are important, not only to New York City, but with Battery Park being part of New York City, Battery Park benefits not only from these services, but the general funds that we in Battery Park support then comes back to benefit the community as well. So we can go to the next slide, and we'll just go a bit into highlight the receipts. And receipts for us are like revenues that come in. And you'll see we broke that out two different ways. On the left-hand side, so the total is $363 million is what we collected. Our fiscal year end is October 31st annually. So October 31st, 2023, the actual cash revenues that we collected were $363 million. And then of that, by type, pilot, as you can see, represents about 80% of that. And then you have ground rent and other that represents the other 20%. Then on the right-hand side, you'll see the split by segment. And we split that. It's largely commercial and residential. Historically, it was residential and commercial were pretty neck and neck. But because the commercial lease, I always think of that as many of you will be here when Olympia and York were the holders of that property. When they went bankrupt, Brookfield took its place, and so they were able to negotiate a fairly attractive, what we would like to think of as an attractive lease, and that has continued. So we, for now, that split is about 44% commercial, 52% residential. But as we move forward, we'll see that split get close back to balance between the two. And I will say that in terms of square footage, there's about 10 million square feet of residential and 10 million square feet of commercial property. So having it in balance, I think is a nice, sustainable and stable split. At the end of the day, with pilot representing 80% of our revenue, that split and determination is also primarily driven by commercial real estate taxes and real estate assessment versus residential real estate taxes and assessment. So most of that split is really going to be driven by that, but we still think that we'll have an impact on that going forward. And then the smaller portion is there are 2 hotel buildings in Battery Park, which you will all know. Conrad is active and thriving. There's a new restaurant. Hopefully you guys have been there or will go there because it's important for everyone to support the businesses. And the other one is Wagner, which is closed at the moment, but we're actively trying to correct that situation. If we can turn to the next slide, just briefly touch on expenditures. We try to keep that pretty well in line and tight and have a relatively small year-on-year growth in our operating expenditures. You'll look on the left, it shows that of the amount that we generate, the $363 million, nearly 40% of that went towards our operating budget, so running Battery Park City, as well as our debt service payments to support the debt that built the infrastructure in Battery Park City and continues to, I think, maintain the long-term viability of the infrastructure as well. You guys are all familiar with the fact that there are substantial piers and pilings in Battery Park City, and so part of the debt goes towards making sure that that remains safe and well-maintained and structured. Of the nearly $141 million in operating budget costs, 62% of that approximately has gone towards debt service, and operations represent about 28%. We have taken the steps to start to build our reserves as well. So the corporate and other will contain things like our operating reserve, any costs that we have to refund to New York State, and things like bridge costs and Pier A and things like that. So that's what's in the corporate and other largely. But the operations is what it takes to run Battery Park City Authority and all the parks and programming and services that we provide the neighborhood. Then the remaining 61% or 60%
Hold on
goes
a minute,
to. Oh, sure.
Pam,
Go
hold
ahead,
on
Pam.
1 minute.
Yeah.
Pam, one more question. I'm sorry,
Oh,
because I missed it because I was writing it down. All the work that's done to keep the parks up and all that is operations, is that correct?
That's operations.
That's what you just said, yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Right. So the 60%, 61% on this for 23 was what would be the amount over what it takes to operate Battery Park City, build our reserves, and to pay the debt service on the debt that we have outstanding. So the amount above that was about $222 million that went toward the New York City General Fund and to fund up the joint purpose. And the joint purpose funds, as I noted, will flow out once the settlement agreement is renegotiated. If we go to the next slide, we can talk just a bit about the capital side of what we do. And as I noted, the capital is kind of twofold. One is the spending of the capital. We get a capital budget approved by the board annually, and this is the portion that was approved for 2024. You guys are very familiar with Gwen Dawson and her team. She comes to you quite often, and she works within the framework of what has been approved. So this year, her expectation is that she would spend at least $167 million on South Battery Park City resiliency, and then $87 million towards the Northwest resiliency. The South, as you well know, is in construction. It is on budget and it's on time. As I met with her yesterday, it looks like we're on schedule for completing that by 2025. The Northwest is largely focused on the design work, and many of you have participated in some of the walking tours and some of the working sessions where Gwen updates everyone on where she is with she and the team. It's a pretty big enterprise where they are with the design for the Northwest, and you'll know that that's a quite complex project that they're dealing with. And so that is proceeding along, and what they were budgeted is $87 million this year. She also, so in addition to these very massive resiliency projects, as we have always done, there are other capital maintenance and projects. And by maintenance, I mean long-term preservation of infrastructure. So capital items that are very long-term, not something that would happen within a year. So we have a number of projects that she works on. It could be art restoration. It could be building benches or doing paving work along the Esplanade. So all of those things we fall within our general infrastructure budget, and that's about $17 million this year. And then lastly, Pier A is a separate entity, and so we've always, we separately budget for that. We also separately bond for it, and she anticipates spending about $8.4 million on that, and all told, it's just about $280 million. As you'll note, most of that is going towards resiliency. It's something that I think is advantageous for Battery Park City residents who live, work, play, and have property here, to have in this world of climate adaptation, to have that degree of focus on making it a more resilient community. So I'm pretty excited about it. If we can move to the next one. So that's the budgeting. How do we get to the budget? We raise bonds to finance the cost of all of our long-term capital projects. I went over this slide in the fall, but we can reiterate in 23, and in fall it was very fresh because we had just funded between June, where we closed a lot of the bond fund, the new bond funds. We actually, the actual flow of funds happened in August. We came to you in September, so this was a very, very fresh slide. And you'll see that of the $732 million, and what we do is a combination of things. We'll do what's called new money for new construction and infrastructure projects, and then we have refinancing. Sort of like if you own a house right now, you want to refinance it, all of that, it's not new debt to you. You're just getting a new structure. We can only refinance when there's a savings generated. And so generally when you have lower rates is a great time to do some refinancing. So we did that last year with a fair amount of savings because we had lower rates than the debt we were refinancing. But we also raised a sizable amount, just about $350 million, but 340 of that, it's about 360. Most of that went towards sustainability bonds, which is both a resiliency project, and then some of the other projects had resilient components as well. As I said, in the fall, we maintained our AAA rating, which helps keep the cost of our debt down. So we want to continue to focus on that as we structure new debt. That's always a focus and goal. We were able to reduce interest costs, and we also eliminated some interest rate swaps. We reduced our exposure to variable rate debt. Great timing, because the short-term debt became much more expensive last year than it had been, and certainly since over the course of since the credit crisis in 2008. Floating rate debt was extremely low, and so it has actually shot up quite high, probably in some instances exceeding our fixed rate debt. So eliminating the swaps, I think, was an important structure and simplifying our debt structure, but also we benefited in some savings by doing that. And the other thing I'll point out is that in terms of the floating rate debt, not only was it a reduction, we moved from having unhedged floating rate debt of 15% down to 11%. Again, really good timing for those of you who are in the market, and you know we had inverted yield curve where the front end of the curve was quite high relative to long-term rates. Flipping your structure at that time became very advantageous. Battery Park City as an issuer of debt, not only being AAA, it's just generally very, it is a very highly sought after investment by bond investors. And so we do fairly well, both by diversification, the strength of what we do, the fact that we're focused on sustainability and resiliency just makes the bonds that much more attractive. So we were very fortunate in terms of what we were able to do last year. I do not have our, I'll come back to you actually once we have a financing plan. And so probably when we do the next, update for you guys, we will be able to update you, and maybe it'll be even a component jointly when Gwen comes and talks about what she will do in terms of where she is from construction perspective for the Northwest. We will be in preparation with a financing plan to support the construction of the Northwest project. So we'll come back to you when we have more details that that we can share with you. And so I will hand it back to you, Justine, and Nick, who's there representing as always.
Thank you so much, Pam. This is great. This is wonderful. We all have bunches of questions, I think.
Yeah.
The last one, if we go back to a slide, just to show the, sorry, I'm going to share the screen again. I'm going to ask about slide. Yes, so here, so you've taken out this debt, you talk about 1.07 billion in outstanding revenue bond, right? Do you anticipate you're going to need more, or is that, I think that just got approved, right? The 1 billion or 1.5 billion got approved, but now the governor announced she wants 1 billion.
No, the debt that's currently outstanding is debt that has been used to finance much of Battery Park, in addition to the new debt that we did last year. So that is old debt, because our debt, generally we will do a 30-year term on the debt. And so our debt generally out 30 years, we'll do amortization to pay some of that on an annual basis. So all of this billion is old debt plus the new debt that we did last year. So the 340.
So what is this number, 1.7 billion?
Yeah, so the 1.7 billion is 1.07 billion. At the bottom.
1.07.
I'm sorry, we're talking among ourselves a little bit, Pam, but so that's this already spent or used up debt? I'm just.
It's outstanding.
It's outstanding. It's been issued, you've spent it. Is that what that means, or you paid it back?
It's been issued, and it has been issued, and it's been earmarked for specific projects other than general infrastructure, because we always raise a bit, keep a little, money available as things happen over the course of years to ensure that, something happens at Esplanade, we want money available to be able to fix it. So repairs, and Gwen does that kind of long-term planning as well. And so that money is not spent immediately, but it's spent usually over the course of 3 to 5 years, say.
And it has to be paid back yet. It's not paid back.
Yeah,
Of course. Yeah. As with any
That's
debt.
outstanding.
Yes.
Without
That's what
expecting to
I've
be paid back.
Okay, thank you. Jill?
Yeah, hi, thank you for that great presentation. Just a quick question, because you did mention affordable housing several times, and I appreciate that. I'm sure you're aware that there's an affordable housing crisis unfolding in Battery Park City in our neighborhood, right now in Gateway Plaza. I mean, there's people here, I think, that are suffering from these rent increases. My neighbor down the hall, who's a single mother of three, is crying because her rent has gone up $3,000 over the course of 4 years. How can it not be, or is there any discussion of making the last bastion of semi-affordability in Battery Park City stable? Because it's not, and it's a crisis. People are crying in the hallways, literally. I'm not sure if you're aware how bad it is.
And moving out on
And
a
moving
weekly basis.
out on a
I
weekly
would say that
basis.
On
Yeah,
Pam,
I
this is
would
on the
say-
ball.
But she talked about using the money for
individual
affordability.
cases,
So tell us about.
Right, I
the
would-
affordability.
aware of individual cases, but I would say that affordable housing is a crisis in the nation. It is a crisis in the state.
We all know,
It is
yeah,
a-
we know. We're,
In the state. And by extension, we would have some degree of that in Battery Park City as well. So I think that the state and city primarily offers programs. What Battery Park City Authority has tried to do is for at least the rental units that try to maintain tried to maintain the number of units, and it's possible trying to get that expanded. And that is an offset either to the pilot revenues or the base rent revenues, and that's for the formal affordable housing. And you guys know how affordable housing works within New York. You have to apply for it, yada, yada. Now,
yeah, we're talking about the
as to-
existing, very specifically, I don't mean to interrupt
Yeah,
you,
as
but
to
just
date-
very specifically preserving the existing affordable housing in Battery Park City. And if we could just focus on
Absolutely.
that.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
we are
Thank you.
looking
Yeah, no,
to, yeah.
Sweet.
In fact, it was one of the points of focus during BJ's last few years is trying to definitely maintain the affordable housing within Battery Park City. And affordable is basically programs that are structured by New York City and New York State. Gateway is not an affordable housing. That was done as a special sort of trying to maintain the year over or minimize the year-over-year increases within Gateway. And that was a very special case. It is not, and I say that because affordable housing is an income-tested program, whereas Gateway is not.
Right, so we could use another term. We're not talking about the state definition of affordable housing. We're talking about the crisis that is unfolding at this moment in your neighborhood, in Battery Park City, in the only major rental unit that people can afford without going into other definitions. I know.
No, it's okay. Before you go, Marianne, so yeah, and I'd just like to add, Pam, and I know this is, we're telling you because you talked about it. We know you're not the person to be talking.
Right.
So don't feel as if.
Not the
we're
decision
attacking
maker.
you. We're not. We know it's not you. But, it's important to us, and yeah, Ben talking next.
Absolutely.
Ben, I'll get to you. I see your hand raised. But, Pam, what I'd like to make a note of with Gateway, as Jill noted, the quasi-rent stabilization that was continued is going to expire in 2033, which is what Jill is referring to. 2030, sorry, okay, 2030, sooner. And then also the other units that are market rate, those folks are facing, I mean, that's a
Yeah.
conversation that's not
The
to be
newer-
had.
The newer tenants.
The new tenants that are
Yeah,
not
newer.
stabilized.
Mhm.
There are people who are facing 25 and 50% rent increases.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
that's kind of horrifying. And these are not poor people, but I don't care how rich you are. That's a lot. So I throw that out to you, and I don't know what the authority can do, and I don't know what you can do. Certainly you are not your job. But there needs to be more focus on stuff, because when you do put people in affordable housing, having it be permanent, as long as that person is there, is huge. It lets people have children, have them finish
Well, you know,
school,
the
and then
thing-
choose to age in paid place. That's what you wanna do, and then if you're gonna die, okay, you know,
When you're gonna die.
I-
when you're gonna die, but yeah, you're right.
Let me jump in just for one, because I think you make an important point. True affordable housing that is income tested, those affordable programs tend to be structured such that as long as the person occupying that space stays, that unit remains on the affordable track.
No, we're familiar with
Wait.
that.
An affordable housing property. It is, as I think Justine noted, it was rent stabilized, and it's not even really following the technical definition of rent stabilization, but it's slightly different. But to convert that from rent stabilization to affordable housing, that
We're not
is
asking
something
that.
that
Wait,
No,
we
no,
have-
no, we have to be clear that it's not what we're asking. We're asking basically for quasi rent stabilization to continue.
In the entire building for all the tenants?
Entire building. We are not asking for any, as I've said before, any sort of state definition of affordable housing.
Correct. I mean,
Okay.
you know, and then again, I know that, I believe that, Freedom is still on board, still here. He's from Assemblymember Charles Fall's office. Good cause eviction would certainly help.
We're just talking about the funding.
Right.
We're
Yeah,
talking
it's
focusing on
prices
funding
over the entire
for
city.
crisis.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in your neighborhood, there is a crisis, there's a meltdown, and we're looking to extend quasi-rent stabilization, and we're looking for, whenever you say affordable housing, to consider your own backyard. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill.
Oh,
Marianne, and then
absolutely.
Ben Lewis.
Okay, I have a few
Very
questions going. I have a few questions going back through the report, because I held my tongue and didn't interrupt. When you mentioned the
Uh-oh.
2010 agreement, you said
Yeah.
that it's between New York State and New York City. What entities
Yes.
in the state and the city were parties to that agreement?
The governor's office and the mayor's office.
Oh, great. Okay.
And the comptroller too, right?
Well,
Literally.
In 2010, it was, to give people a mark in time, it was Mayor Bloomberg, John Liu, Andrew Cuomo.
That's
Those
Back-
were the,
back
those were the
then.
principals at the time.
okay, and I think you said that's due to come up again soon?
No, it's
That's-
finished. Yeah.
Yeah.
Expired.
So it didn't, Pam, if I misstated, let me know. It didn't expire. We fulfilled our obligation under the parameters of that agreement in 2021.
We fulfill in
So-
terms of that agreement, yes. Yeah.
So the
And-
money continues to flow through, it just hasn't been
is-
designated yet at anything, but it continues to come through.
Well, let me just
Sorry.
clarify. This is not the arrangement that was made with a number of the condos
No,
No,
on their ground rent. This
Nothing
is a
to do with
separate
that.
thing with what the city and state do with all the money that they get handed.
yeah.
so Marianne, so you get this
No, no,
concept? It's so basically 363 million come in.
I got it.
No, I'm
I
gonna say,
really-
because I think
unless
for people
somebody
who
else
are
wants
to
here.
hear it.
So let me say,
You know, that it's money that goes out to the state and the
360
city, and it's for them to determine what happens with that. Other than the general fund money, which is earmarked to go directly to New York City General Fund, it's the amount, it's the other, the balance that is in question, and that has historically been around 40 million annually.
correct. So, but let me say it this way because it's simpler for us to understand. The money comes in 363 million, of which after 141 million, I think it is, goes to debt and operations. That takes off the top. You got 222 million left. That is the excess revenue that is from pilot and ground rent. Excess revenue is 222 million. That gets split between the joint purpose fund and the general fund. And the excess revenue goes that way. We know where the general fund goes. Some, New York City takes it and spends it. The joint purpose fund, we used to know where it goes and how it's spent. Now we're in negotiations to know what we're gonna do
Right.
going forward. But again,
Yeah.
we're not in negotiations.
We don't
The
really,
authority, the comptroller,
you
and
just said we know how it's spent. We don't really know how it's spent. We know the governor gets part and the mayor gets
No,
part. We
no,
don't know
No,
what-
no, no, no.
No, New York City gets it. The general purpose fund goes to, as Pam, oh, sorry, make me go.
I'm talking about,
Which one?
I don't know what I'm.
Yeah, I know, I don't. Sorry, I'm trying to find the picture. This is where the general fund goes to.
I know a large chunk of pilot is like is like real estate tax. It's what we pay to live in New York, and of course it goes to support all these city agencies.
So, right, so 78%,
That's fine. There is still a large chunk of
40
money
million-ish.
that the mayor and the governor just divvy up between themselves,
No.
and it disappears into the budget each year, and we don't know what it's used for.
No, that's,
They're not accountable to us.
that's incorrect. I'm gonna be.
You telling me they don't get money to spend, that we don't get feedback on exactly what they've done with it?
Once the contract is made for the joint purpose fund, the money gets out of Battery Park City's hands and goes to the city or wherever they decide to go.
And once
So
they
we
get it, what
control it?
happens?
No,
No, once they get it, what happens?
they do what they do.
That's what I'm saying, they do what they want with
But
it.
that's welcome to the city. The
Well,
city does the same thing with the
they
general fund.
created-
I mean, yeah, the rest of our, I mean, I'm not sure what you're saying, that's why I'm pushing
When
back.
I moved into Gateway in 82, and when I bought a condominium in 87, I had heard in those early years, pie in the sky, that all the extra money that we'd be paying would be helping affordable housing.
Right.
And then over the years, we begin hearing more and more, oh, it went to fill a budget debt in Albany. Oh, it just disappeared into New York City. We don't see the results of the money towards affordable housing. And I'm not directing this to you at all, Pam.
Yeah.
I'm directing this to the committee members, that we are in a situation where we have no control, very little control over what we pay anymore. We have no control over where it goes. And we have we're not representing ourselves. We're people like the Revolutionary War days, taxation without representation. And it's just, it boils my blood, because I really thought I was gonna be doing some good for affordable housing. And
Right.
it didn't happen.
Yeah,
And
no.
it still
But
hasn't happened.
Say
It's
that
not
you haven't
evident to
been.
me. I wish, and
Yeah.
Pam, you can't answer this, sorry. But I wish there
Yeah.
a way we could reach out to the governor and to the mayor and ask them to be a little accountable for all the money they got over these years. What amount has gone to affordable housing? I'm sure some did. Maybe it went to upkeep NYCHA in the hopes that it wouldn't be ripped off by the people who were working at NYCHA.
I mean, Pam, you may wanna weigh in. I would just say, and I. Good. But the money does go to affordable housing. It just doesn't only go to affordable
We
housing,
don't
right?
know the numbers.
No, but we do know the numbers, so I would agree, and I think the authority would agree, Pam could weigh in here too. It would be helpful to us, I think, and to the community, to have a little bit more visibility about what specific, development it's going to. But in terms of every dollar that's gone through, as a function of the joint purpose fund that we finished paying the settlement agreement to, we know exactly how much money went. Since 2010, I think it was, Pam, $261 million went specifically to fund affordable housing throughout New York City. That's in Upper Manhattan, that's in the South Bronx,
And what
that's
did
in
it
other
build?
places.
And what are the results? I
Yeah.
wanna see
I mean, I
results.
can get you the names of
40 years
the,
living here, and I haven't seen results.
I mean, I can get you the, but mostly it's run
I
through.
think
I believe it's
We
DHCR.
have
It's a
that.
disaster with
But I
the-
don't think we-
Some of the development names. Go ahead, Pam, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we don't have that level of transparency or
Of course,
visibility into
No.
where the money goes. I think Nick is correct in that when this was originally struck, the intent, and I don't think we had a agreement, was that it would go towards affordable housing. And so you look at, people like the comptroller, who has always said, his focus is to try to ensure that money, that 40 million, goes towards affordable housing. But that is part of their discussion. And you're right, we don't know, but we will report it back to you. And one of our objectives was to ensure that there was some level of transparency on what happens to the joint purpose funds. Obviously, general fund is New York City budget. OMB will handle that and budget it out to all the various departments. But joint purpose, we would like to have a better trail on exactly where it's being dealt out to, but we don't have that information. We know the objective was affordable housing, but the reality of where it landed. Now, we don't think it went to pet projects and things like that, but we also don't have certainty of where precisely the money flowed to, because that was not part of the terms of what happens in that joint purpose fund. But we will try to get some level of transparency and hopefully be able to report that back to you. Obviously, you know, we don't control that. As we said, it goes to, it's signed by the governor's office but we will report back to you of how that's being split, whether and to what degree we're able to track it as it goes out, or what kind of reporting we can get back from wherever they decide that money will go. And as much information as we can get, we will report that back to you. And I'm hoping it's for
So I
2010.
really appreciate your willingness to do that outreach and get data, but I think we should have somebody from the state, somebody from the city to report to us, because I don't think you should be in the middle of this.
Okay.
You're not the
Maria,
decision
can-
maker.
people to talk.
I think your councilman and those folks, you know,
Pam,
that
give me a
is
second.
it is your
Pam,
representation.
hold on a
Your
minute.
council.
Pam, hold on a minute.
This committee did put forward a resolution asking for a seat at the table for a community member, a CB1 member. We've asked for it.
Discussions.
to
What
be-
table?
This joint purpose fund,
Okay.
forming
thank
the
you.
new iteration of the
And
settlement
thank you.
agreement.
And the board.
Because it would be
Yes.
really wonderful if someone from this
Yeah.
board could do it. Once again, it is not the authority's call. They
Exactly.
can ask our behalf, you know, and I have put forth that request. Transparency would be helpful, but having a seat at the table to discuss this would be so helpful. And we did actually have,
Fine,
enough, Maria, I got the people. No, I got enough.
I told you
Let
I
me-
didn't ask all my
Oh,
questions
Okay,
during the
go to something else then,
presentation.
because
Okay, I'll go. The Wagner Hotel is now closed, so I guess they're not paying any ground rent. And at one point, I know that the authority took on Pier A and they're not producing income, right?
Correct.
Neither of those, but well, I would say that Pier A, we will be, we're at a point where we should have the control of that. That lease has been terminated, and we're working to work on the next phase of how that property will be utilized. And so you'll see some progress hopefully on that. It's not, you know, these things do take time. But we think that will be activated again. And we're hoping that it'll be activated in a way that's beneficial to the community and the city and state. Wagner is,
Come to us and talk to us when that comes up, so we can be part of the conversation.
Right.
absolutely.
Like we already
Nick will
had.
do that on his updates, but you know, as we make progress and get to a point where we can bring that to the community, we absolutely can do that. And similarly for Wagner, we actually have received, you know, some of the back funds on what was owed on that. We're continuing to press forward on it. As you know, that original property manager was no longer under management. We're also trying to get that control of that facility back in the relationship, the prior relationship, enter into a new relationship, get it reactivated, renovated, and then reopened. And so I think there's some progress being made in that front as well. I'm happier where we are today, at least, than where we were, you know, even a year ago. So you'll also start to get some, as we get to a point that we can communicate that back, we will.
Thank you, Pam. You also mentioned
Mhm.
during your presentation the number of square footage that is
Mhm.
commercial and that is residential. I didn't catch those numbers.
Yes, 10 million.
10 million, 10 million.
They're both
It was
10
10
million?
million.
Equal, okay.
But the tax.
And you said something about
It's all
Brookfield having had a good deal, but you're moving towards maybe less of a good deal over time.
Well, Well, I think that, we are always having discussion with, as much as we can on, how we can improve upon what we have. What we've been, I think that on the commercial space, that's obviously with Goldman, they've been a great tenant. With Brookfield, they've been a great tenant, but more than importantly, they have been really a centerpiece of Battery Park City during many difficult times, including during COVID. And I know you guys probably walked through there and it was a ghost town. If you go in it now, it's thriving more, I think, than prior to COVID. So I think that Brookfield Properties has done a great job. And we hope, to continue to have discussions with them and everyone else on how we move Battery Park City into its next phase.
It's very true that they do a lot of great programming and they make the neighborhood better because they're there. I wonder if
Mhm.
anyone knows, the problem of empty office space. I wonder if anybody knows how they're being affected by that, how much empty office space they have as a percentage of their total. Because that would mean they're getting less rent and they're gonna be hurting. And they probably have already brought that up in negotiating. Yeah, they do it.
I think you're exactly right. We are, again, I think, very fortunate to have what is considered Class A properties. And as the real estate market being, as you know, the crisis for affordable housing, there's crisis for commercial real estate property as well. But most of the properties that have done well have been the Class A properties like Brookfield Place, and the fact that they do a great job of managing. And one of the things that they, as I'm sure other building managers try to do, is they will have their lease renewals over, not in any one year, so it's over several years. I think it will take a few years to see where they pan out and whether the commercial real estate market will improve and what impact it has on them. For the authority, I think that property is so valuable and that lease is so valuable to them. We don't really see a tremendous impact immediately, at least, on their ability to maintain their obligations under the lease. What will happen more so, I think the concern, to your point, is what happens to commercial real estate broadly. As I kind of keep tabs on what's happening to real estate across the city, because we are part of that. As I noted, Class A properties are doing very well. Brookfield Place is Class A. Lower Manhattan, I think, is doing well, not as well as Midtown, because that was always a pricier location. But I think it's the city, when we talk about pilot and how they do, determine assessments and tax rates, they will need to manage that, because if there's a reduction in the value of, in general, of real estate property, that's where we would see the impact. And so we could see a reduction in our revenues associated with that. But as we've had conversations with the city and as we've projected out, even when we did the projection out, we did not see, we see a slight dip and then a slight increase, but not enough that it would have a negative impact on the authority in Battery Park City.
Thank
But
you
I
so
think
much
it's
for
something
the detailed answer.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's a
so one more
very,
question, it looks like one more question from Ben Liss. Ben, you're unmuted, so please go ahead. No, you muted yourself, Ben. You're unmuted now. Speak.
Thank you. I didn't know if it was my time to speak or not. And thank
It
you,
is.
Ms. Frederick, for the presentation. A quick question. Do you have estimates for 24 revenues?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Do you have estimates for 24 revenues?
Yeah, I didn't bring that number, but we feel that it would be relatively flat.
Okay.
from this year. And so far, so good. I mean, in terms of our collections and our estimates, they've been pretty good. And probably the biggest impact, as I just noted, actually, would be if for some reason there was a reduction from the city in terms of assessment. So that's where we usually have the greatest variance.
Mhm.
But in, for instance, looking at the first quarter, we've had a slightly positive variance. So we feel pretty good coming out the gate in first quarter. But the city is constantly reassessing properties. The outlook is that our expectation is that we would remain relatively flat, not a huge increase or decrease, but we will come in somewhere around that same number.
Got it. And when will we know that roughly? Would it be at the end of the fiscal year, or will that be a number that'll come out before then?
Oh yeah, it would have to be at the end of the fiscal year. If for instance, we came 3/4 of the way through the year, we can give you an indication of how are we faring.
Okay.
But we're doing pretty good so far, and we expect that we'll be pretty flat on the year.
Okay.
And
Got it.
debt will be pretty flat as well. So.
Debt servicing, yes. And how about debt issuance? Is there an estimate for fiscal year 24? What additional debt issuance there would be?
Not yet. I think I made note of that. I might have done it too quickly, but I can only plan based on what Gwen plans to build. And so as she gets refinement in her, particularly in her Northwest project, which is the lion's share of what we're going to be financing in the next few years, we'll still have a small sliver of, that's the budget for this year. That's not the overall. So
Got it.
it wouldn't take into consideration what we might need for next year. What we financed last year was to finance the construction of the South, and we financed the design of the Northwest. The Northwest has been changing fairly in some very complicated and substantial ways, so we may have to have an increase in that design budget to address some of those things. So that will probably be one leg of what we finance, but also once she has a better idea of what the overall cost of the Northwest will be, what the overall plan and pace of construction is, then I will be in a better position to try to plan out, well, in 24, are we going to be able to get to the market? I would say at the latest, first quarter of 25. I just don't have amounts and numbers yet.
Got it.
And that's because Gwen doesn't have amounts and pace and timing yet. So what she will do is the Northwest is largely certainly approved to go forward. It's just a question of what that design will be, what the overall cost will be, what some of the new elements will cost in terms of incremental cost. And once she has that, and she has worked with the engineers to get a sense of what is the plan for rolling out construction, and even the pace of construction, I think is a complicated engineering function because I think she's come to you guys with the design planning for each of the reaches. Will she be able to do something concurrent? Will they be incremental one after the other? All of that impacts what amount of money she needs and when. And then it's my job to ensure that the money is there and construction can continue at a regular pace. I do, if I get indication of that soon, even by, call it early summer, then we may be able to get to market by the end of 24, but at a minimum, we expect that we will need to have gone back by beginning of 25, because as I noted, when we did the 23, construction for the South is bonded. So I don't need to raise more money. It's on time, on budget. It's really the Northwest, and there's too many unknowns right now for me to be able to plan it out.
No, that's very,
But I'm trying-
that's very insightful. Just one last quick one on this slide in particular. For the money that's allocated in 24 for Northwest, is
Mhm.
is that for more than design services? Is that also
No.
some construction work or?
No, design.
Okay,
So, yeah.
wow,
Very,
yeah.
very. And let me tell you, we have lots of eyes on it. One of the things that I think it should give you comfort, as well as from my perspective, the bond investors' comfort, is that even as our design costs might increase, as many construction costs have increased because just pure inflation, but ours is because of new, complicated, additional elements. And Gwen can go through all of that, but all of those things are not just vetted by the authority, but we work with other departments like DEP has an impact, and we will review things with them, especially when there's overlay, meaning what we design might impact them. And then New York City will also very thoroughly vet our design work and our choices in design and our recommendations that we in path of design. So all of that is vetted by any number of people. It's not just a single person or a couple of people who are making that determination. It's very, very complicated and well vetted. And hopefully you guys find the sessions that Gwen and her team, Claudia is excellent, Eve, who does the South, is excellent. We've been very fortunate to have a very great team.
Ben, are you good?
Thank you. I'm gonna mute myself again.
Thank you, Ben. Thanks for the questions and thank you. One last question from me, and then I don't think anybody else has their, oh, Matthew, you did, but I'm gonna ask my question first. How much is currently in the joint purpose fund? I think you told us something, a number in September.
120, I don't want to speak out of turn.
I
Pam, you
didn't
know
see a
that.
number here.
Yeah, it's about 135, I think.
Plus
Really?
the 5
Including-
million? Or including?
Yes. Um,
100, yeah, 135 including.
another, and so all told, it's about 130, 135, somewhere in that range.
Okay, thank you. Matthew, you had a
Mhm.
question?
I'll get you an exact number, because finance people don't like to give hyperbole. I'll get you an exact number, and Nick will circle back to you with an exact.
Go ahead, Matthew.
Sure, going back to the.
Loud, so I can hear you.
Going back to the affordable housing questions, I've asked Nick before, so I think I know the answer. But with all the hundreds of millions you've transferred to the city over the decades to build affordable housing, how many units are there anywhere with a plaque outside that said this was built by money from the Battery Park City Authority? More.
Can you repeat the
Come close.
question? Because
Matt,
I
It's
didn't
not
hear
what-
that one.
He was being flipped.
I think it's actually
Oh,
a pointed question.
But it's.
we're not being
it's fair.
flipped.
Okay, so more to the point, when you give money, or actually in the past, when the 421A was in effect, and you shipped truckloads of money to the city for affordable housing, how much of that was just them paying themselves back for money that they would have collected if 421A didn't exist, but didn't collect because 421A did exist? My understanding is that's many, many tens of millions of dollars. And then the follow-on to that is,
Can you hear Pam? I'm sorry, I just want to make sure you can hear.
I just agreed with that.
Pam, you agreed with what he said, right?
yeah, I don't have the answer.
okay.
Okay. That was
And
not
of the
yours.
money that's left over, how much in a given year, if the city was gonna spend hypothetically 100 million on affordable housing and you gave them 25, what was to stop them from spending 100 million, just plugging your 25 into their 100, meaning none of it went to affordable housing, they just pushed it in the front door, pulled it out the back door,
Nothing in
and there was no additional money going to affordable housing. No fault of the Battery Park City Authority, but there's no impediment to the city, there's never been an impediment to the city doing that. Which is why there's no unit anywhere with a plaque on it that says Battery Park City built
Build
it.
it.
Jumping ahead.
Wait, you wanna let her answer you?
I'm sorry, yes, please.
Is there an answer or is it just like, okay, Matthew?
No, there's-
I'll take that to mean move on.
Yeah, no, there's no answer to that.
Okay. The Wagner
Thank you.
Hotel. We've been through 2 recessions and 2 bull markets and real estate and everything else since the day they opened. They never made a dime in profit. So whoever comes in next as a bullseye painted on their foreheads, what would the authority think of converting that space into affordable housing and then subsidizing it by collecting less ground rent? Because that would be an actual social good rather than the authority getting stiffed on the operator
Yeah.
walking away like they've done twice that I can think of. Well, just,
Tell the
I'm sure you
board.
can't give me that.
I gotta tell the
Interesting
board.
concept. That's a really good question
Sure.
and an interesting concept.
Has it been considered?
I think so.
I mean,
I never heard the question.
I think it's a
Um,
fine question. I have no idea what would go into converting a hotel into, or what the cost would be, but it's well outside my area of expertise. But go ahead, Pam, if you had something to say, but it's a fine question.
Yeah, I don't think there's an answer really to that. That particular case, hasn't been answered any more than we have 100% affordable housing in any building in Battery Park City Park. So there's no answer for that, other than that has not been considered. That would be as much as I can say on it.
A lot of good things.
I
But
think
what
there's a lot of
any better, or any differently than the last, parade of hotel
Yeah.
operators. All of them were experts and all of them
Right.
hit a brick wall and went bankrupt.
Which
And
one?
about Brookfield.
that have done,
Brookfield has
that
just
unfortunately
shy
have
of
gone.
$1 billion dead in the
Wait,
last year.
listen.
Yeah, there's a lot of hotels, even especially in downtown, and you guys probably are aware of a lot of those that have shuttered. Some have been converted to homeless housing. Some have been converted.
Right.
I don't know if they've been converted to affordable housing, but there have been many properties that have fallen on tough times. I will say that converting that totally to affordable housing hasn't been a consideration.
Maybe it ought to be, but that's for all of you to do that. Brookfield, in the last year, has welched on just shy of $1 billion in debt, which means they might conceivably, if things get much worse, come to the authority and do the same thing. If they do, because they're already paying less than $5 per square foot in ground rent, while the rest of us are on the way to $10 a square foot, would the authority be willing to say that whatever, because you look at the deal you gave Olympia and York way back when, that was the deal of the century, I mean, sweetheart terms. Would the authority be willing to give whatever new terms Brookfield shakes you down for to homeowners and renters?
Oh.
In this hypothetical, if there is a new Olympia and York situation.
It's okay.
and that place-
It's a rhetorical question. It's not one that I'm able to answer.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions? I don't see hands, but could you check too? I don't see hands. I think we're good. Anybody else in the room? Oh, excellent. Pam, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Mr.
Dan.
Great.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
It's a great
Thank
presentation,
you.
Pam. I think you gave a good history about Battery Park City and you gave us the information we needed, so thank you. Really appreciate it.
All right. There were some questions I couldn't answer, but and certainly we'll take your input and feedback back to everyone, and to the extent we can be responsive to some of it, we'll do the very best we can.
Thank you.
Sorry
Thank
for
you,
the
Pam.
gotchas.
Good night.
Good night. Okay, thanks.
Yes.
I think the discussion of the joint purpose fund illustrates that maybe we should have a new resolution that's directed to the controller, the mayor's office, and the governor's office, seeking greater accountability and transparency. They're the ones who are spending the money.
Yeah.
They're the ones who are negotiating the agreement. And so they are the ones that would be in a position to give us and all the other taxpayers of the city of New York, whose money this fundamentally is,
Yes.
transparency on what they are doing with it and to what, to what extent are they in fact meeting what they say their objectives are in terms of affordable housing or whatever else they're spending the money for.
I second.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So how on the ball, Jeff, is last week, Lander put out a report saying there's a lot of money in that, something called the JPF in Battery Park City. Why don't we do that? Yeah, saying, boy, I can think of some good uses for that. Sure. So that could be especially timely and apropos.
It would be interesting, so maybe we need to, do you want to do it now? Do we think about it, or
Yes,
we could
yeah.
because I think it's pretty simple.
I mean,
good for that.
conceptually, I think it's simple. We may, crafting whereas isn't
We
what.
just want them
what-
to come and,
I mean, I don't have any problem if the committee is okay with a resolution that's basically directed to those three, kind of CC to the authority.
Yeah,
That,
transparency.
that we need more transparency, and accountability.
Jeff, that's great.
To disposition of the joint purpose, fund.
Jeff, how about the state controller? Do they? should
Yeah.
they step into, because the governor.
No.
I don't know.
I think it's city.
City.
Not
It's
they're not
city,
much in-
mayor,
That's
city,
budget for Participation.
yeah.
Okay.
Transparency, accountability for, spending of GTF, or like that, yeah. And then you said,
It's kind of a separate point from, we've already had the resolution for a seat at the table on how. it's
Right,
Correct.
this is separate, yeah.
But this is sort of the, okay, now it's being spent,
Spent, yeah.
whether or not we agreed with the guidelines, but they should meet those guidelines.
they should meet those guidelines, and we'd like to have a report. And we want it only in the joint purpose fund, I guess, because the general fund,
I
you know,
know
would be
what
like
they got.
taxes, nobody gets the accountability.
Yeah.
Well, is that I would ask for it on any and all money they got.
It's an entirely different issue on the general.
Fund, yeah, because it's too,
I don't think we should have this separate in this resolution if we want.
yeah, I would
Okay.
agree.
Yeah.
At some point, we have
Every
to take,
taxpayer in the city of New
Yeah.
York has that other issue.
it probably won't be this committee, but I think at some point, we need to take up real estate taxes as a concept. And we should be putting together with all the community boards, because it affects everybody.
Yeah.
But that's not for here and now.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I would love to see something about affordability or continued, affordability in Battery Park City and how that fund is being applied.
Well, we did ask for that in the first resolution, so we can refer to it, we can repeat it, whatever you want to do.
I think you certainly reference that the stated, one of the stated objectives is to spend this money on affordable housing, but if you can't answer the question of which projects it funded or.
Right.
And I think we have to be careful, as we saw with Pam, using the term affordable housing, which means different things to different
Yes.
people. So I would want to say stable housing, perhaps.
We could, but I mean,
Yeah.
fund,
Within-
you're asking what in the world was it spent for, whatever.
Right, because the joint
And
purpose fund technically isn't spent here.
Well, it
It
could.
could be, though. We've asked for it, we've asked for a portion of it to be here,
Yeah,
but.
I think there's a crisis in stability right now that has to be addressed.
I like that word, the crisis and stability.
And, I mean, one of the reasons that relevant for us to know where the money is spent is that we hear these sort of generalist arguments that it can be better spent outside of Battery Park City. Well, how do we know that if we don't know how it's spent?
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Correct.
I mean, I'm good with it. I mean, maybe we could, if everybody wants to vote on this, kind of a generic thing,
The concept, yeah.
and then,
I think that's
we can
great.
put it, we gotta throw it to the, yeah, exactly.
Put it into words and
And then we
email it
can-
around.
We call the motion?
Yeah,
I call the motion.
second,
Sure.
So everybody who's in favor?
Aye.
But we'll see the final before we.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay,
Who's
thanks.
voting
Yes,
to-
everybody's in favor,
good.
yes,
To write
and
it.
anybody say no? Betty,
Yeah.
well, we gotta see you.
She's there.
No, because this is too nebulous.
Too nebulous, okay, so Betty's a no, thank you, Betty. Yeah, definitely pipe up if I forget you.
But once it's articulated, Betty,
She might be able to change her mind in the full board if she likes what I
Right.
do. But that's fine. Thank you, Betty, and then, like I said, if I go past you, please pipe up. So Betty was a no,
Any,
abstentions?
any other opposed, abstain, or recuse?
Seeing none,
Passes. it passes.
Yeah, perfect. All right. Thank you, Jeff. That was a really great idea. All right, so we got one resolution down that we didn't even think we were gonna do. If you're me, I didn't forget. So the next thing we're gonna talk about is, and supposedly, I don't know why they're not here. I'm a little bit annoyed about it, but whatever. So representatives from Senator Kavanaugh's office
Senate
was
bill,
supposed to be here,
yeah.
and also Assemblymember Charles Hall. Fidim Shabini was here, and he dropped off, so I'm not sure what happened, but I don't see them. But we don't need them. I'd like to, when we pull up this, I have a slideshow, and I don't know,
Yeah.
anybody who can't see it.
Yeah, press them down. the
Yeah,
far end.
that's it.
so
You can get one. Yeah, that's fine. Mm-hmm. On it or look on the phone. And Betty, you could look online. I could always send it to you too, but.
Thank you so
So basically,
I could walk it live. She needs it.
okay, that's fine.
Press them down.
This hopefully will be pretty quick.
Computer person.
From my position, and I've kind of put myself out there about where I want it, because I'm saying this, I'm liking it to be, and I'm pushing for it to be a resolution in support of these laws, these bills that were put forth by Assemblymember Fall, this one, and Senator Kavanaugh, thank you. So really simple, this bill is looking to promote housing affordability and stability for income eligible homeowners and renters whose primary residence are located in Battery Park City. Okay, when you actually look at the bill, I think it references Battery.
Battery Park project
But
area.
yeah,
It's just
Battery
how it's
Park
listed in the law,
in
which
the
is.
law, which is weird, but
Live in
that's
a
why
project.
it's in the title, we'll see, but anyhow, that's the name. But so to be clear, an eligible homeowner is defined by the law as someone who is owns a resident in Battery Park City, lives in that residence, doesn't rent it out, they gotta be owner occupied. That be their primary residence, and their annual household income cannot exceed 150% of the area median income adjusted for
Which
house.
is-
Next slide, wait, but that's.
It's on there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, go to the next thing.
Renter.
Eligible renter is defined in Battery Park City as someone who occupies a rental unit who's quasi-rent stabilized, i.e. Gateway Plaza, or has
A tiny percent of
Yeah.
Gateway Plaza.
or has a restriction on annual rent increases under a regulatory agreement between the landlord and the BPCA. And once again, the annual income can't exceed 150 of the area median income. The next slide shows you, also, this one, you can go to order. This is it. So in the green, if that doesn't show up, that is 150% of AMI. And the numbers on the side shows you how many people in the family. So if you're a single person in that home that you own, you can make up to 148,350, and you can apply for this. Go all the way down to 245,000.
This applies to owners and renters?
Yes.
So if your income is above, say it's $170,000 as an owner, you would not be
Would
able
not
to
be
How
apply.
many people are in your household?
Based
One
on
person
two.
on two.
Yeah.
If you're 170, technically you wouldn't.
Right.
But if you're 169.5, I mean, this is the
Or
this
less.
is how it works with affordable housing.
changes each year.
And it does change each year. It does bump up
Yeah,
usually.
yeah.
But so it's determined each year. And if you go to the next page. Sorry, well, this one, you want that one, yeah. I just wanted to put out there so people understand where and what 150% of AMI is. It's considered middle income. So when you've all heard me talking about this, Nick, middle income.
Oh, right.
This is
Yeah.
middle income considered in New York City. Now, in Staten Island, maybe not. I mean, it depends where you are. It depends, you go out out of state, maybe it's not, well, upstate, it's not, but New York City, this is middle income. And we're
this-
not even going up to the 165%. Okay, next, to explain what this is, okay? Homeowner's ground rent is defined as the portion of the homeowner's building ground rent attributable to in a home, okay, that's their blah, 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 we know what ground rent is, right? At least we as a group here do.
Yeah.
The renter's ground rent is defined as the portion of the renter's rent payment attributable to the ground rent for the occupancy of the unit. So
It's their
that would have to
primary.
be figured out through whether it's Gateway. I know I was gonna ask you, Nick, is it who else in Battery Park City would be subjected to this or would be covered by this?
Renters, you mean?
Like, yeah,
Tribeca, but I don't know that I have an I don't have an exhaustive list. Off the top of my head, I know Tribeca Point,
Maybe Solaire, right?
There are a few that exist, I believe, in the city.
I think there are some in the Solaire, I don't know.
Maybe some in the.
So under.
No, in the Virginian, there may be some in the
Wait,
Virginian.
It's not that.
excuse me a quick minute.
There may be some
You're
Virginian.
talking about other buildings that, like Gateway, are considered quasi-rent stabilized.
Well, no.
Or not.
Only one is, only quasi rent stabilized is Gateway. So when you see those
Only.
words, we're
That's what
talking
I
about
thought.
Gateway.
That's only there. So
This
what are we
one,
talking about now?
the other one, and I think we have to go back to the other page where it defines it. Sorry, I gotta go back to the other page. And, I want
No,
to.
no, right.
A contract, or, yeah.
What,
Yes,
are you
okay.
looking?
So with the, for example, at Tribeca Point, the authority made a deal with the building to have a certain percentage and preserve a certain percentage of affordable housing in that building. That would be, those people would be subjected to it, assuming they qualify.
Because they made a deal to have affordable housing there.
And then in the Solaire, I believe it's 421A that's still there, and the other buildings, I think it's 421A. And those, they would be within the realm of qualifying, how's that? Then they have to be income eligible,
Qualify.
all right? So we talked about
Individual,
these,
it's all by individual.
what the ground rent is, and so then it's telling me, what is this gonna do? This is gonna, the BPCA is gonna offer each eligible homeowner and renter, or renter, a rebate of the portion of the ground rent equal to the difference between the amount of the homeowner or renter's ground rent due in the base year, let's say it's this year, and the amount due and paid for the year for which the homeowner or
It basically
renter
freezes.
applies. So, yeah, it freezes the ground rent in the base year. And then, but not, it freezes the ground rent, but that doesn't, so for example, we'll have a slide of it. Each building, including Gateway, including everybody, they all have increases annually.
Right.
Each building will, eligible homeowner or renter's ground rent will freeze where it is. And the rebate goes to the homeowner or the renter.
How long does this freeze for?
Yeah.
They can do it for,
As long as you qualify.
as long as you qualify. So basically, it's let me finish. If they qualify, they kind of assume the next year they're gonna qualify, but they have to apply again. So
Sure.
it's not forever. You can fall into it, you could fall out of it, things can
Okay,
happen.
but assuming you qualify, it's forever.
I know.
Yeah, assuming you keep your income down, it could be forever.
So your ground rent will never go up as long as you qualify, is what you're saying as an owner. This
Indefinitely.
is what you're asking.
For the few people.
That seems
this
too
would help.
good. What do you mean, the few people?
I don't know. Yes, see, we will watch. We're gonna see. Good. Marion, you can fight with her. Because I know where she's going.
Yeah, you do.
I know.
think there's gonna be
Okay,
a
so
lot
what
of
else?
people.
Okay, procedures within 180 days, that's fine. And the reasons for this, okay, so now I'm gonna go to the old,
So, wait, is there a rebate? Plus it never goes up?
no.
Rebate is how it goes.
no,
Okay.
It
So the
will
rebate,
go up. So it goes up on the building itself. But if 20 apartments are paying less because of this arrangement, then the other
The way
apartments
this-
are gonna have to pay
No,
more?
the way this bill is written, the authority
rent
just
bill.
eats it.
Oh,
That's how the bill is written. The authority has a different take on it, but the way the bill is
I
written, it sounds to
see.
me like the
Okay.
authority
That's
just
exactly
eat it.
what that's exactly the intention.
Yeah,
The authority
okay.
would be Rebating the difference.
interesting.
And the protection to the renter is that it's not going to LEFRAC, it's going
And
to,
or the homeowner.
Oh, the
It
homeowner.
goes right to
and
the
LEFRAC is, for example, because I know it's Gateway, they are contractually obligated to not raise the rent or not do anything, whatever the deal is their deal. So this could not have, they
I don't
could,
understand what you're saying.
I'm saying,
Are they going to be able to raise our rent
because of this rebate. No,
ever?
no, yeah, of course,
Wait a
yes.
minute.
No, yeah.
Not any increase that would be based on ground rent,
Two
just
things.
charge you more for
Two
heat.
things.
Sure.
Yeah,
Well, there, I mean, I don't think,
But-
basically, it doesn't matter because Lefrak's ground rent
it's
is,
so low.
it's so low and it's also in place for, what, decades?
It's not eternity.
That would be-
Okay, it's in place for an extended period of time, so the issue of ground rent going up for Gateway doesn't really apply.
and-
So what is this rebate then that the renters are getting?
They would get whatever the ground rent is in the base year, whatever the difference is between what everybody else jumps up to or whatever that goes up, they will get that back. Is it a
Wait,
lot?
they're getting cash back?
Yeah.
No.
You're gonna get money back.
They get a
rebate.
rebate, but just to be clear, and
I'll let
I
you
think
explain it.
you understood this before when we had our conversation.
Yeah.
The rebate for a renter is based on the proportion of their rent that's attributable to the town's rent.
Minuscule.
Right,
Which in many
exactly.
buildings is very small, and it's one reason that I've suggested that this bill really shouldn't address renters, because administratively, it's incredibly difficult to even figure out what it is.
Right, the
And
renter,
the actual financial benefit is likely to be quite small.
like $20.
And the only ones who qualify for it in rental buildings are already covered by a rent stabilization protection.
Right, so they may get
they're
another
not subject to the
$20,
same
$10.
risk that the condo owners are of increasing.
Yeah, we'll go into my objections when we
But,
get to the
but
Q&A.
can I ask you a question?
But I
Could we
don't
keep going?
mind including it in, I just don't think, I mean, I also wouldn't mind. not
Yeah.
having it.
But
Yeah,
I wouldn't treat it as a true benefit for renters because it may be $10.
Could be.
But wait, can you wait for the question? Because I want to keep, because you're interrupting.
Let's keep learning.
Okay, yeah,
Let me
keep
take
learning.
you more
Let's
because some of your questions may be answered.
Thank you.
So I would go to now, let's talk about 10280. Looking to see, because your question is how many people? You said 100, whatever. Well, when you look at the, and the next, I'm gonna read it and not have you do it. It's hard to see, but I did go into that, it's hard to see, okay?
Holy cow.
Looking at
This is
this,
here.
Nick, you want one? It's in here. I mean,
Yeah,
there it is.
no.
Looking at this, if you look, this is 10280 South Battery Park City. In the green line, in the green line and the blue line. Green line is owner occupied housing. So in Battery Park City South, according to the 2022 census, 1,345 people reported being owner occupied. They have all the buildings that are there, only 1,345 people are owner occupied.
Okay.
Of that, I got all my numbers to tell you the exact amount.
And this green
Of
is,
that, 38% come in under 150 AMI,
Which percent?
38%.
Does that,
38?
renters?
No, we're talking
this
about-
is just the homeowner column.
So we're talking about
Is it-
509 units out of 1,345 in the South. It could be eligible homeowners. Now let's talk about renters in the blue in the South. Okay, 35% of the renter occupied housing comes in under 150. So that's 1,028 out of 2,948 eligible renters. And you see that, I mean, you know, it's in here, the green column, the blue column, it really, I'm gonna point here so you can sort of see it better. It's really these numbers right here and these numbers right here. Okay? And you can't read it.
No, it's just not colors.
Oh, sorry, but,
Yeah, these are not color.
sorry, you don't have a color printer, sorry, mine's colored, but you can see on there.
Yeah.
It's the fourth, owner occupied is 4, 6 is renter, okay? So, that's substantial people, as far as I'm concerned. Next, the North Battery Park City, 10282. Let's go. Renters are easy, owners are easy because there are 240 owner occupied units reported in the condos. And all 240 make over $150,000 as reported.
Wait, there's only 240 condos in North Battery Park.
Owner occupied. Okay? So there's a lot of people who have multiple
Investors.
right? So
This
this
is-
again, this is a self-reported, okay?
Oh, these are self-reported.
Well, it's the census, so I mean, it's what you go through, so this is the census. US Census, this is
Okay.
federal data. it's
Federal data.
Okay, this is not me making it up.
Okay.
As far as renters, eligible renters in the North neighborhood, there are 408 out of 2,395 that make under 150.
In North Battery Park,
In North,
and this
yeah.
doesn't include people renting from an owner.
Under.
I think it does.
I
It
think.
has to.
Well, wait, you know what, okay, so let's be fair. These numbers, yes, this would be,
People renting from,
but then they would not be eligible renters.
right, so that
Right.
number, so this is kind of a
It
skew.
might be, it
Well-
might be.
It has to be because we can only come up with about, at most 100.
For renters, okay, okay,
So for a question, all of these numbers and everything in the bill, who would be responsible for coming up with the real accurate numbers.
Will you submit, if you want to
You'll
apply
submit
for
an
it,
application.
I assume you're
And
gonna
who
say,
double checks it.
this,
Presumably.
New York State knows what we make.
Affordable housing.
So this would
Just
be
probably
on
gonna
the
have to-
city or the Battery Park City Authority.
this is the better.
So this is yet more paperwork for them.
But it's standard. I mean, for all the affordable units, you have to submit.
All you
your
need is a
tax
big
and stuff anyway.
spreadsheet.
Yeah, and it's more.
Oh, wait, so people are gonna, in Gateway are gonna have to submit their tax returns
If they
to get
want
their
to apply.
$10.
If they
You
want
may
to, if
choose
they
not
choose not
to,
to.
you realize it's.
Okay, so
You
yeah,
have
so,
to do
Too puny.
taxes anyway.
yeah, you have to, it's, if you're interested and you think,
want
you
it,
look
you
at it really
gotta
clearly. If you
disclose.
think you apply, qualify, and you're interested, you do it. If you don't think you're gonna qualify, don't. Very simple. And so with that said, I think that you consolidated it and had it come out for a general, for the whole neighborhood, okay? And again, they could be eligible renters. Jeff consolidated it for me to come in that it ends up being 27% of renter occupied housing in North and South, all of Battery Park City.
That includes your 400 number, which we know.
Well, it equates to,
These are census numbers. These
Okay.
are the number of people in the percentages.
Okay.
There's
Yeah.
no way of knowing what percentage fall within the income or fall within affordable housing units.
Okay.
But it is kind of reasonable to assume that if 27% overall
it will
are 150 or less, it's gonna be that amount or even a greater percentage of those who are living in affordable units that would have those income levels. Because there should be a correlation between your income and whether or not you're. in an affordable unit.
Yeah, plus your 3 roommates. But-
Right.
Well, and that's, although these are supposedly households, I mean, this is
This is
census.
how, right, it's sensitive, and so, and it also depends.
Right,
As,
that's like an argument
as you
yeah.
pointed out in here too, we'll make a note, this does not tell you how many people are in the household.
Right.
So with the census data, it could be 1, it could be 2, it could be 5, I don't know, I mean, odds are, so as it falls in here, those are the people who are eligible.
I mean, I think the point of this is that some people said nobody would benefit in Battery Park City. Everybody has an income that's greater than this. And at least according to the census data,
Yeah.
roughly a third of the condo owners and roughly a quarter of the renters
Yeah.
Could possibly be
Would-
eligible, yeah.
could possibly be.
And I think that that is a significant number of people who could possibly be helped. Eric,
When does AMI go up? Or
every year.
every year?
I mean, every year they change it. I guess suppose it could go down too, but every year they change it.
either way.
I don't know if
All right.
it ever has.
So with that said, I'm looking at a therefore be it resolved to recognize that while not all renters or owners in Battery Park City, but only the most needy, and its only impact is limited to Battery Park City, we support the legislation because it helps preserve affordability and stability for up
Stability,
to
yeah.
the percentages, 32% in Battery Park City, North and South combined of eligible homeowners. And it could be up to 27% of the renter occupied housing units who could be eligible renters. And you want to know some information, which I thought would be interesting to share. Why is this so important to the homeowners, okay? Because some people have, oh, and I also want to make a note, because I learned this today on a different call, and I don't have a slide for it. But Gateway Plaza, in 2024, we're looking at the ground rent per square foot, okay? So Liberty Court, ground rent in 2020, I'm sorry, this goes a jump here in 2027, 408, it's 3 something now, because it increases every 3% every year. Gateway in 2024 is 17 cents per square.
Wait.
foot. That's, yes,
Seven-
yes, 17 cents per square foot, okay?
So basically, yes,
Okay, so part of what?
$10 may be the rebate for Gateway.
Okay.
Not that
Yeah,
much.
Not
yeah.
that much. Okay, it's a very small amount, but look at it, okay, so be careful, Joe, because look at the discrepancy of what's happening here and who's carrying the burden of this neighborhood.
Yeah, but is that money supposed to be a rebate, anyway, go ahead.
Okay, what I want to point out with this is jumping from $3.37, or $4.08, sorry, $4.04. It's a 64% increase in 2027, or a 56% increase, or a 58, blah, blah, blah. You see the numbers, okay? part of what I want recognized, that's 6 out of 18, only 6. But they're also facing the fair market value resets that the authority says they're not gonna impose on us, but, they haven't taken it off the table
Well,
yet.
you leave out this very small fact that your apartment goes up in value, so.
It does not, okay, so
Okay,
let's
not go
no, let's talk about this. Every time the cost of the apartment goes up, the sales price of the apartment goes down, because that is just, that's economics.
yeah.
Okay?
So your real estate, everyone's lost money or they haven't made any
Yes.
money.
Yes.
We're talking about people who are selling, are they making a profit or
So,
not?
depending when they
I
bought.
can answer that, but
Yeah,
now,
of course.
keep one thing in mind.
Yeah.
Those people have to maintain their units, that's an expense, they didn't have a landlord to do it for them.
Mhm.
They also took a big risk buying, because I'll tell you, I started in Gateway with you. If I stayed, I'd have a sweet, low rent,
Yeah.
but I wanted to invest in
It's
the
not so
neighborhood.
sweet or low anymore.
No.
It's up, even with the cost
Well,
I read,
It's different from what I'm paying
I know.
as an owner. And so I am investing, I took another step, I took a risk too, and you're supposed to, I think, in life, sometimes, get a better payoff if you take a risk. So, risk and reward, and believe me, if anybody wanted to sell in December 2001, they took a
They took a
tremendous.
tremendous
risk.
cost.
Saying that, you know.
I'm just
when you-
saying
yeah,
the bigger picture, that's
Yeah,
all.
there is a risk when you buy property.
Right.
And that is a risk that should be,
Mitigated
Just
by our
No, we're just,
quasi-tax money.
You know what,
we're just acknowledging it.
I'm trying not to get angry, because I find it really frustrating that you're so intent on advocating for affordable housing in Battery Park City, and you are against helping people in Battery Park City stay in their home for stability.
Because
It's-
because the priority right now, before a bill in the legislature, should be to stabilize the crisis that we are having with the renters. It's a meltdown.
It's not,
It's not only the renters,
There are
Jill.
people selling and moving as they get older because they know
I
they can't
understand
afford
that.
on their,
But in the
retirement
meantime,
income
you
to
can
stay.
afford to live in your home.
Um,
I am watching people leaving and being kicked out and
that
can't
is
afford
happening.
it.
It's happening with the owners as well.
as
And
well.
then the legislation should be,
That is why I am fighting for
this is not,
This is a start.
Exactly,
step
it's a
one,
start,
yeah.
it's a step. It is a better solution for the homeowners than what the Battery Park City Authority was proposing, sorry, because this does not include
what
some
was
stuff.
about, so the, but what,
The Battery Park City had a lower number, they had 130% AMI.
The AMI, I think, was.
But you were flexible, but nothing was proposed in stone.
Right.
It was thrown out there as an idea. So
without including some benefit, a real benefit, not a $10, a month benefit to the renters.
this is not what this bill does. We need to do more, Jill,
I'm
but
talking
that,
about any bill or resolution that is giving money to increase, to quote, affordability and stability in this community that does not address the current crisis is, I think, a disaster bill.
we need more. We need to have this advocacy, when I finish my sentence, we need to have this advocacy out there for good cause eviction. We need to have something passed to preserve and control.
Then any
the
bill-
Exact,
Oh,
Should
increasing
of course.
Good cause
course.
eviction for Battery Park City.
good
Well,
cause
that's a
eviction has,
separate-
it's a separate thing, Jill. Not everything is all at one time. This is specific to ground rent.
You're not gonna get a lot of hits at this pinata, so to speak.
Well,
I disagree with you. This is
Maybe keep
specific to
trucking
Battery Park
along.
City.
Okay.
And my answer to you is, if you really want to put the
Hopeful.
neighborhood against each other, that is your choice. Go ahead.
I've seen the emails from,
Uh,
yeah, we won't get into that.
Yeah, well, no, but I don't want that. I want us all to take care of each other. We are all in Battery Park City. And I do believe that no matter where you are, if you fall into this income band, it will help some people.
And
And
it's.
I'm really adamant about helping some people stay in their homes. Betty, I know you want to talk. I don't see you, but I know you have an opinion. So if you want to say something, I will call on you because you have an opinion and you're certainly able to share.
Betty, can you unmute yourself?
Who this is?
Yeah, now she has her hand up.
Okay, go ahead, Betty. You speak, but also as you're speaking, I don't know who call-in user 646-345 is. if you want to speak, raise your hand. I just don't know who you are. But okay, go ahead, Betty.
I was gonna say, I think the data is too sparse. The whole issue is way too complex. I think it'll help very few. I think there's a lot of game playing that can be done, as well as not that many people are gonna be reasonably helped. I agree with Jill on that one. I just think it's a bad idea, and I think it's too complex. We'll spend more money implementing it than anyone's gonna save. And meanwhile, we're just gonna have less money going into the things we need, like paying off resiliency and doing other things. So I'm just completely against it.
I thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. I'm assuming you're both going to be no. Jeff.
Okay, I understand, Bill's points that it doesn't do anything for the renters, and as I said, I have no problem in simply taking the renters out of it because the benefits to the renters will be small and administratively it may be difficult. But I do think that incremental steps to help affordability are important. I mean, one reason that we didn't get any meaningful housing legislation in the past few years is there's been attempts to solve all of the problems at once. And if you don't solve them all, then you shouldn't solve any. And as a result, we're not solving any. I do acknowledge that there is a risk of how many swats at the pinata you're going to get. I don't think this one is a very big swat.
I don't think it is, no.
It's very similar to what the authority has itself proposed. And
Without legislation.
without legislation.
But they haven't done it yet.
Exactly. So this is not a bill that's antagonistic to the authority. It's basically codifying an idea that the authority has put forward as well. So I favor the legislation. I understand the arguments against it, but I favor the legislation as an incremental step. It's better to have a step than no steps.
And that's what I would say. And also, just for the record, Senator Kavanaugh did introduce it in the Senate last year and it passed. Got out of committee, it was passed in the Senate. It went to the Assembly, but the Assembly, they had a meltdown with the budget and they didn't handle anything. So I've spoken with, and I'm sorry these people aren't here, but I've spoken with Assemblymember Charles Fall, who has said that they're pushing for this to go through. And they've spoken with the governor and they have confidence that it would go through, and I don't see why we wouldn't be pushing it. But again, that's not a guarantee of it.
And I would add that I guess the quality of life committee is the one that's charged with affordable housing. I think they, as well as organizations and voters generally, need to be advocating for true, whether it's good cause eviction or other
Yes.
measures to get something done this year. This is not the solution. It's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you on that score too. And if you want to see, I mean, basically what I've done in the slideshow, at both sides, and we put together, and Jeff actually was very kind, we put together, well, you edited it. Yeah, there you go. But this is what I propose we push forward and we can vote on because I do believe it will help some people. And for me, that's enough. And again, this is not the end. This is not the end, but it is a start. And
nothing for so long.
there are only, well, 32% of owner occupied units could possibly be eligible. And that was from 2022. Who knows where they are today? And who knows if they're still there? Just like, in Gateway Plaza, how many people are, I mean, the chair of this committee, Ninfa Sagara, moved out because she saw the writing on the wall and she left. So I'm not gonna stay there and stay in Gateway Plaza when this is gonna expire in 2030. And I don't wanna put words in her mouth, but she moved out of the neighborhood. The other side of the coin, Jill, too, for people who own their homes, the amount of money that you could get, assuming you have equity in your home and you don't have a big mortgage or whatever, you can't stay in Battery Park City. You can't stay in Manhattan. I'm not even sure you can go stay in Brooklyn or the Bronx. I don't know where you can go because the money is just not there. It depends. If you're someone who's on the upswing of their career, different story. If you're someone who's on the downswing or, retired or whatever, fixed income, disabled, whatever, you're not having choices. And that big chunk of money, who is it that you're helping if they're making $150,000 a year in Battery Park City or in Manhattan?
So I call the question.
If that's okay. Betty, I don't think you've raised your, tell me if you do, but I don't think so.
Well, she already spoke.
She spoke. Okay, so could we call the
Second.
question? Second? All right. Let's see. 1 second for him to pull it up.
So we're voting on this resolution that was just passed out.
Yes,
Okay.
which basically was what I just said. I mean, I tried to put it in there. Jeff made it nicer, combined the, oh, you know what, there's one error in it. I didn't add in the 408, the number of renters, 27%, it should be 1,028 plus 408. Yeah. I don't know, yeah, there you go. I don't know if you want them or not, but I think it shows that there's a significant, I like the numbers because 27% is, but we could double check the math. Because
The numbers aren't there, that is potentially 509 out of 1585.
that one I think is correct. What's
then-
not correct is the 1028. It should be 1028 plus 408.
Oh,
What?
Second page.
third.
Oh, we're back, okay, sorry. All right,
509.
509.
Correct. So, okay, we called the question except for my stuff. So all in favor? One, two, three, four, 5 in favor. Oh, you gotta see who it is.
Five.
I think it was 5. So we have Jeff Galloway said yes.
And
And
15, Jeff, Sarah, Eric, Mary.
and Mary Ann. It's, oh, right, it's Mary Ann. And so, opposed. Jill. And I'm assuming Betty opposed or no?
Kay opposes.
Opposed, so 2 noes.
One abstention.
And you're abstaining?
Okay. Passes 4, 2, 3.
Okay, thank you. Next,
How many abstained? Sorry.
no,
How many abstained?
well, how many? One
Okay.
abstaining.
And how many in favor?
4 in favor, 2 against, and 1 abstaining.
It was 5.
Sorry, 5.
5 in favor, sorry, you was 5th. Oh, that's right, 5 in favor. 50 abstaining, I said no.
Public members are
They count,
separately on the sheet.
but they count,
Yeah.
Yes.
okay.
And then it goes to the big board.
All right, next on the agenda, okay, we're gonna, Betty's kindly agreed to have us do the North Battery Park City traffic and parking issue presentation next month.
Okay.
The one thing I want to say to the folks that live in the south neighborhood, Betty, if it's okay with you, we can, after this meeting, share, you know, your presentation with the slides of it. What I believe, maybe you just describe it, because you were able to do a really in-depth view of the north neighborhood in terms of the streets, the dangerous streets, and where daylighting, I think, and tell me, correct me if I'm wrong, but where daylighting would help, which means, pushing back the curve, basically, and having it open so you can see.
Are we doing this?
We are, I'm just gonna say, anybody in the south neighborhood who has any opinions or concerns should contact me, contact Betty, because she did not do an in-depth thing because no one seemed interested. So, and it's, you know,
It's not as bad.
it's not as bad as
In the
the
north
north. In
end.
my opinion, it's not as bad as the north, but we may have something to say. So I just want to put that out there, and Betty, thank you. Okay, next, Battery Park City security update. Mr. Murphy.
Zach, if you bring up my report, sorry. His charts at the bottom, and then there's something else
Do you
further
have
up in the
copies?
report that might be helpful. We're a sustainable entity here. Mary.
Listen, the eyes can't see what's up there or retain it.
I will bring some copies for you next time.
Just send, if you send it out in an email.
Oh, I have, yes.
Put my notes on it up close. Was it in the
It's
other?
in the email, yeah.
Oh, no,
Thank you.
okay. Zach Bomber, already paid, Dad, I gotta tell you.
Sorry, give me a second.
All right, I'd like to address the recent unexpected death of an individual in the park. As you may be aware, on Thursday, January 4th, 2024, 49-year-old male, Hispanic, was found in a seated position on a park bench in Rector Park. The information that I can share with you is the following from the NYPD. He has been identified, but due to the fact that the NYPD hasn't been able to contact next of kin, I do not have a name for the individual. His time of death has been recorded as 7:08 a.m., January 4th. At last contact with the NYPD, the toxicology report has not been released by the ME. Drug paraphernalia was identified by the NYPD at the scene. The NYPD believes the individual was homeless. For the security standpoint, I can share the following with you. A full investigation was undertaken upon notification of the incident. That included interviewing staff on the midnight shift, reviewing the GEO tags captured, visiting the site of the incident, reviewing location reports, reviewing homeless reports. During the investigation, immediately following the incident, it was identified that a light that illuminates the area needed to be replaced. Report was generated, the replacement of the light was made. Next steps, an additional GEO tag was added to the specific location. An increase of patrol was added to the area. The contact information, phone number, and email for the Department of Homeless Services Command Center has been added to every company phone on site. This command center is manned 24/7. The staff has been educated as to the location of a warming bus for homeless individuals. The staff has been instructed to engage homeless individuals in conversation and ask if the individual would like services. If they decline services, individuals are informed of the warming bus. If they accept services, we call the Department of Homeless Services Command Center. Supervisors have been re-educated to the importance of orientating new personnel on site. Copies of the map of the park, including GEO tags and locations to be patrolled, are available for the staff. This park had a geotag located outside of the park on a lamppost prior to the incident. As I mentioned previously, an additional geotag has been added since this occurred. Typically, geotags are added when areas of concern are identified. Incident reports are reviewed daily by the supervisor and are sent to the client each day.
The client is the Battery Park City Authority.
That's correct.
Stuff, yeah.
Okay. If I receive any additional information in the future, I'll include it in my next report. Okay? That brings us to the report. Just to let you know, for the month of January,
No, last one, sorry.
there's been 18,803 reports. That includes in that number the geotags.
18,000, you said, right?
18,803 reports been taken, but that also includes the geotag scans. All right? So, in January, dealing with graffiti, we had 13 reports. A lot of them were repetitive until it was removed. And this dealt with Teardrop Park, where they were doing graffiti on the garbage cans. You know, they also hit a couple of light poles with it,
With the graffiti.
Okay? Homeless, we had interacted with 5 of them during that month. Lost and found, we only had 1 article. Park rules, we're talking about 5, dealing with park rules, and this is really dealing with residential kids hopping ball field fence after it's all closed at night. And we also had somebody playing a dice game by the Jewish Heritage
Oh,
Museum,
wow.
okay? Vendors or solicitors with 0, and dogs, we interacted with 1 person concerning the dogs.
Yeah, please.
A couple of questions. First, on the light being out there, there are a handful of lights that are out in
Mhm.
Battery Park. Who do we report that to? Is that a 311 call or?
Send it to. That's a great question. I never want to dissuade anyone from calling 311 generally, so call 311 because that, based on what the city does, helps them kind of determine what best to allocate resources based on all the calls coming in.
For
That
example,
said-
South Cove has one out. and it's-
But that's the case, always send it, you can always do your one, but also send it to me as well. And I say that because fortunately or unfortunately, Battery Park City contains multitudes, right? So depending on where the light is, if it's one of the blue lights in South Cove, then that's us for sure. Repeatedly, what we've seen, I know over the course of the past year or so, which is frustrating a little bit, which is by the West Thames Bridge, or I guess the Robert R. Douglas Bridge now, some lights along, like right by the eastern borderways along 9A, sometimes those go out. And those aren't ours, those are DOT, but we can get them over to DOT, so we always submit it to 311 just so they have it. But simultaneously or afterwards, just send it to me and I can get it. If it's something we can address directly, that's easier. If it's something we can't, it doesn't mean that it can't be done, it just means that I would have to identify whose light owns it and then we can get it.
Second question.
Yeah, but South Cove for sure, let me know, we can get that fixed.
You can also see on the light pole,
Yeah.
Battery Park City Maintenance. You'll see on the light pole, they have a tag
Yeah.
that says
BPCA.
BPCA,
Right.
and it has a number.
Okay.
So
We need
even if you call us,
Yeah, you can call Allied too.
you can call us and we'll make the report and send it directly to the authority.
Yeah.
And they follow up with it.
Okay. My second question, was on your homeless interaction there.
Yes.
Very low number. What, would that include, approaching someone and asking them if they want services? Or does this only include if there is some problem with the homeless?
Basically, during the daytime, if they're sitting up, okay, I gotta tell you, we basically leave them alone because you know what? You're actually asking a safety ambassador to, what would it be, to profile somebody. I mean, you'd be very surprised how certain people dress, and they could probably buy a couple of buildings down here, okay?
Yeah.
So we leave them alone. Most of our interactions with the homeless is dealing at nighttime, okay? So like, for instance, not
I'm
last
sorry,
month,
that
but
number
this month.
reflects, that 5 number, I guess, for the month.
5 was
Reflects-
last year,
In a
one
month.
is this year, right,
Okay.
in a month. But like, for instance, in February,
No.
like I've said
Two and five.
several times here, I hate Thursdays, which is, garbage day. A homeless person got a mattress, put it up by the balcony, by the ball field, and under the scaffolding, okay? Obviously, we had to move them, okay? What helps us really is when the city decides, it's code blue, okay? Because that individual used to come back every night. And code blue, we were able to call in and they came, they came straight out. And when they came out, then he accepted it, okay, and went off with them.
So cold blue means it's really cold.
Cold blue
Certain
is
temperature.
when it falls below freezing. Okay, when they say no, we're basically directing them to where the warming bus is. And that's, I only became aware of that because I started attending the Downtown Alliance meetings, where on his group of meetings, it's connected directly to the Department of Homeless Services. They're on there. And at these meetings, I'm able to say, because each person gets an opportunity to speak as to what homeless issue they're having at their location.
It's good to
And-
go.
Right, and I'm able
They did
to
great.
say at what area that we're dealing with. So I can only see us interacting more with homeless people because of the number of sheds that are gonna stop popping up, right? Because I expect that coming, and the fact that the warmer weather coming, we always get a number of homeless people in the summertime. But then they leave, like there's a group that leaves around lunchtime because they go to whatever soup kitchen or whatever, as I call it, that's close by, and they go someplace else. So, yes.
Much less important question. I heard from actually a neighbor of mine that some poison meatballs were thrown in Kowski Plaza.
No.
No,
The
that's
West
wrong. It,
West Thames Dog Park.
it was the
Well,
dog,
she said it was
was the
Kowski
dog-
as well.
it was the dog run. It was the dog
Yeah,
run.
do you handle that?
Yeah, well, actually, a person came in, reported it to the desk. The desk officer immediately, sent out an email to Battery Park City Parks, sent the supervisor over there, and he generated a report. When they got there, one of the, women that were there with their dog had picked up a lot of them, you know.
Good God.
So, but it was all cleaned up. We don't know what was in them. I mean, you know,
Yeah, who
but
knows?
you're right. Who knows what's what?
All right.
So it was taken care of right away,
And you're sure? it
you know,
wasn't
and I called him back.
I'm positive.
I can give you an update.
Paul spoke with.
All right,
Yeah,
fine.
okay.
Yeah, it was,
West Thames.
the person that called me, the person that came in and reported it, she left her name and a number, and I called her back and said, okay, it was all picked up.
Thanks.
So she's part of,
There's
part of
once
the
a
group.
dog owner who, dog did eat multiple meatballs, and they rushed him to the vet, and the vet gave him something to vomit.
And a medic.
Yes, that's the word.
Okay.
And
someone checked Kowski to make sure there was nothing there.
yeah, I don't know if they'll ever know what was. in
Well,
the
they never
meatball,
told
though.
us Kowski. The only thing that I was aware of was the dog run.
All right, I'll make sure she didn't help in Kowski.
That's it, but they,
Okay.
they gave
Must be
the
that
dog,
the dog didn't get sick.
they made the dog throw.
They made them.
What it was point, or they
They
just.
don't know.
They don't.
They just,
But I thought
Okay,
they were
fine.
afraid. Yeah, right.
Right.
based on.
Oh, I have a question, comment.
Sure.
It just so recent, well, maybe a month or so ago, you know, there's a lot of people who, when the weather was nice, skateboard, and this was like a group of adult, you know, fairly adult men by the side of Gateway. And one of your ambassadors, they were not listening to her. I think, you know, she was by herself, and there must have been like 8 of them.
Mhm.
And it was, you know, I think she did radio for backup.
Right.
But I just wanted you to know, I did stay with her with my hands on my hips, as nasty as I could until, you know, she was in a good
The
place.
skateboarders are always a challenge. I worked with Ryan, in parks where you'll see that, we move around, you know, Ryan moves around benches to sort of, right, discourage them from it, but if they want to put it on YouTube or TikTok or whatever, that's what they're doing. A lot, the older ones are there and somebody's got a camera and they're putting it on TikTok or something like that.
There's
Yeah,
usually
they
a
were
camera
horrible.
person.
They were like just ignoring her. I think that she was a
Oh, yeah.
small woman and they just thought they could do that. And
Yeah, it's fortunate. Thank you for staying with her, Jill. That was great.
it was right, take them all
Uh,
out.
You don't get pushed out.
The hands and the hips as well.
Go.
Very
That's it. Oh my God. No, but that's very good. Thank you. And Pat, thank you for the report about the poor person who passed away in the
Yeah.
park. That's really huge. I'm glad you've taken some steps and added a geotag. That's really useful. And yeah, so I have a question. So here, does the homeless, which is 2 in 2023 and 5 in 2024, does that include the gentleman that passed away or that does not?
No, it does not.
Okay,
It
so,
does not. It's who, whatever's reported is who the safety ambassador interacted with. Okay,
okay, so there's, unless they interact with them, it doesn't come into the report.
right,
Yeah.
because they just don't go around and take people, pictures of people on a bench and,
No, well, it makes
Yeah.
sense, but, I mean, so,
So we had discussed, if it makes sense, is we had worked some years ago to kind of refine some other things that might be of most interest to the committee. But if you and Jeff and the crew kind of want to revisit certain things and maybe reporting some different types of numbers that we have, like
right,
some reports, I mean, we can talk through tailoring this report each month, because while it has value, I think, it also after some point, maybe it can become a little staid. If
yes,
there are different things that you want to hear about going on in the neighborhood, you know, I don't think we need something that has 100
No.
numbers each month. But it doesn't have to be those, whatever it is, 6 things that we report. We could report other things if you're
But I
interested.
mean, knowing, what, I think we discussed this, adding a line to see how many, geotags you have, whatever, if those are consistent with how many reports there are generated, whether they're like just, somebody said this. somebody
Well,
said that.
basically what Nick is bringing up, like if we came across a homeless person, which we have, maybe 3-4 months ago, okay, over by, I call it Pataki Way. I don't know if they changed
That's
it.
it.
Okay.
You know what you're talking about.
Okay, so, that person was laying down on the bench and he still had the needle in his arm. Something like that wasn't reported on, under the homeless caption, that would be medical because an ambulance was called, police department responded, and, he was taken away to the hospital.
Did you guys have Narcan?
No, we do not.
No Narcan. Oh, really?
No,
Shocked.
you have to be trained on that.
Well, Narcan, you can just order it, they say, like.
Well,
You could order it, but they have to be trained.
they have to be trained on it,
Matthew.
we're trained on the, defibrillator.
Yeah.
Our guys are trained on the defibrillator. That's what we have at the site.
Yeah, but that's not gonna help. the
Helps.
I
I
understand.
mean, every construction site in New York City, they're trained on our kind. Why can't you guys be?
That's good
I didn't say we can't be. I said that
to know.
we're not.
That might be something to think
it's
about.
Asking whether or not it's something that we should expand the training to
Mhm.
include.
Yeah,
So we-
because it is
well,
now.
We're talking about the.
Well, it's becoming more of a.
There's more sprays,
Yeah.
there's something, I don't know how it works. I've never
That's
done
Because
it.
you do realize when a person, when you, give that to a person, and let's say they pop back,
Sometimes
they
they're
still-
belligerent.
they still have the drug in their system.
Yeah, and they still, they do go to the hospital and be
They
monitored.
still have to go to the hospital, they, you know, and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So, I'm just making you aware that, there's, some people think, oh, once you give it to them, oh, and they snap back up, oh, yeah, it's a miracle and they're okay to go.
Anybody that reads the
Yeah.
box understands.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
It's a box.
Does somebody reading the instructions, I mean, nowadays, I mean,
Right?
Yes.
But no, you're right. The immediate perception is that, oh, they're fine. They're not
Yeah.
right.
Read the
But
box.
that's a really good point, and that might be something to do.
Yeah.
I also would just sort of like to know, so for example, and we talked about this, you know, the ambassadors interacted with dogs or a person with a dog that was given a violation once, but everybody who's in Battery Park City knows that there are so many dog violations. And there's a disconnect between this and that, and I'm gonna assume that people make reports, and then by the time the ambassador gets there, the people have moved on. Because, you know, people make reports, then you've got someone like Jill, who might, you know, say, hey, guy, get off the lawn,
And they might listen.
you know? And I assume the one person who stayed there was someone who didn't listen to somebody saying, move along.
Yeah.
And we don't know the answer, but if somebody does make a complaint, I almost would like to know more about the complaints, because that tells us what's going, I mean, to me, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but from my perspective, hearing what people are complaining about tells me what's going on in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Hearing what the ambassadors are actually having to react to is not enough information.
Like
Well-
an aggressive dog versus somebody
Yeah,
just
again, and
Right.
walking where they shouldn't.
Right, but there could be, so that would be something
Yeah.
that they'd react to,
Right.
and that would come up here. But
Justine, I'm not sure what you're asking. Are you asking for a listing of complaints?
numbers, at least, let's start with that. I don't want, you're not gonna have to go
If
through.
somebody calls our office, okay, to the command center and, they say there's a dog off the leash in Rockefeller Park, okay? There's a safety ambassador up there someplace, either on the north part of it, south part of it, or they're in Teardrop Park, okay? They walk over, they get contacted by the command center on the cell phone that they have.
Mhm.
They walk over, they take the picture. If the person's there, fine. They're still reporting it, okay?
What I'm
The
saying to
problem
you
is that
Okay.
we don't get the phone call, okay? We really don't get the phone call. If we do get the phone call, somebody is sent. If there's nothing there, they're instructed to take the photograph anyway to show that there's nothing there and write the report, responded on a complaint about, you know, a dog off leash in Rockefeller Park. And
So
it was
people are just
unfound.
not, so from
Does
this
that show
perspective,
up in the numbers?
No.
Yeah, that shows up if it was
If someone
reported
was
in
in
that,
there.
it would be counted as a.
Even if there was no dog
Right,
when you
correct.
got there.
Oh, it is counted, even
Yes.
if there's no dog
Yes.
there.
So in this number here, only one person called in,
Right,
or they saw some person
Correct.
on their own.
Right.
correct.
That doesn't surprise me, and I think that what this points out is the importance of your ambassadors having a presence, because their mere presence, I think, reduces violations. I mean,
Right.
True
there
deterrent.
will be obnoxious people who won't clean up after their dog, but I doubt very many of them do it right in front of an ambassador.
Right.
Well, I actually have one of the peace officers. He always comes early. All right, and he gets off at Chambers Street and he walks. He goes over to Rockefeller Park. He's there around 6 a.m. and he walks down to the office to see if there's anybody. If there's anybody there, he's gonna write him a ticket because he carries the book with him.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so, I mean, and he's taken it upon himself to do that, in all honesty. Everybody's, it's just, when we first got here, we had business cards. And all the ambassadors had business cards, passed them out to everybody and that stuff with the number. It's certain people, we get calls all the time. Mr. Keeley calls me all the time, like the person today, Maura, she calls me when there's something up,
That was about the
you know,
meatballs.
and that was about the meatballs. I mean, they're the ones that call,
All
right.
Street
Yeah.
there.
Other people just decide, well, it doesn't affect me and
Or I'm
they
not gonna be
don't
bothered.
call it in.
Mhm.
And the same thing goes with when we do have something and it can be police involved, they don't want to press the charges. So, you turn around and this, this guy just did this. Okay, we have the person. Okay, we're gonna call the cops now, okay? When the police arrive, it's, well, okay, it's your property, give me your name and your number. And they're like, what?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
And they back off.
right, right. And then when the person lets go, now they're upset that the person was let go. Well, you have to press the charges. It's
Yeah.
not our property. I mean, the same thing goes for the authority. Whenever anything happens that involves the authority property, there's a designated person that goes down on the police report
The
For
authority,
it.
some from
from the authority because it's their property.
Mhm.
Okay, it's not our property, it's their property. We're going as a witness if we see it.
That makes sense. You need a complaining
Yeah,
witness.
you
You
need
have
a
to
Right.
have somebody,
You need to
yeah.
complain it, to have a report filed.
All right, well, anybody have any questions? No?
I say, may
I
I
don't
be
see anybody
excused?
online with a hand raised. Betty?
I really do.
I have one, sort of data point. This person was apparently in the park, dying or dead for, let's say, 16 hours. Did any ambassadors ever pass him and choose not to engage, or was he never spotted, noticed by any ambassador?
Well, first of all, I don't agree with the 16 hours.
Okay.
Okay,
What's a more accurate?
okay, because ambassadors were by on the 3 to 11 shift. Okay, and they took pictures of the area and
Okay,
he
so-
wasn't there at that time. Okay, when he got there, I cannot say because like that, none of our people engaged with them. But I can say
But
this,
your people
at
swept
some,
the area and he was not there earlier, the
earlier on
previous day.
on the previous day, right, they were over there. There's a picture of the area, what we call location check.
Oh, that's
And
great. Okay, so-
it didn't appear.
So
Okay,
as of 11 o'clock, he wasn't there.
I can't say exactly 11 o'clock, but at some point during it, I was told that a person, an individual saw him at 3 o'clock.
That's what I
Okay.
heard.
Yeah,
That's-
3:30 or
Right.
like that.
We had heard.
Right,
But that's
okay,
incorrect.
that's what we heard. I have a person that visited there on the 3 to 11 shift after that time. And he was actually dealing with taking photos at 380 Rector Place because of the shed there, because we're dealing with an individual that was trying to set up shop there. okay, that had a sleeping bag. So that's one of our spots that we visit. Okay, so they pass there. Okay, we also deal with the other side of Rector, all right?
So you actually have a picture of that little corner there in the park? or no?
Not specifically the corner, but taking a picture of 380, you know, the scaffolding and that stuff. So I know that the individual was, safety ambassador was
Is
there.
there?
Okay, now, the fact that the person, he could have been there, sitting there, okay, but he was sitting up. It was my point, because I was always scared of anything happening. The homeless person, anybody that's laying on a bench, it doesn't matter whether they're homeless or not, we ask them to sit up. And that was our point of dealing with the engagement. And a lot of times, you know, that has worked,
Mhm.
okay? So during the course of the night, the safety ambassador was in that area hitting geotags on the Esplanade. Also took pictures of that scaffolding because of the homeless person that used to come back all the time now. So that became one of our points of interest, okay? And so at nighttime, most of them are doing a route, and they stuck to the route. This individual stuck to the route on hitting the geotags, and where she was unfamiliar where the geotags was, she did what they call a location check, which is take a picture,
Mhm.
okay, and report where she's taking a picture of.
Okay, so,
Okay.
so the information I had is incorrect. That's actually greatly reassuring. Thank you.
Well,
Oh, actually, one more question. I'm sorry, I think you answered it already. If you have defibrillators and you're allowed to use them, there's no legal impediment related to liability that would prevent you from stocking up on Narcan training and, like restaurants will let you die at the table before they'll give you an aspirin because if they intervene in any way, it becomes their legal problem and liability. That's not the case here. right?
in all honesty, I don't have the answer
That's
to
my
that.
personal will.
In all honesty, I don't have the answer to that. That's for me to reach out to our insurance
Yeah.
company to find out whether or not, our.
Here's an
insurance
it would be
covers
a
that.
shame, because as Nick pointed out, this is not becoming any less of a problem every quarter, every year there. So if you haven't yet tripped over somebody, you know, halfway to heaven, it's probably gonna happen in the next year or so. And it would be a shame if the reason for not having help available is some quirk of law that makes it a non-appealing option, I guess is what I'm saying. But thank you.
Nick, maybe we can connect with DOHMH.
Yeah.
Because they do Narcan behind every bar, free Narcan kit training. Maybe we can connect with them, see if they'll do a training, give you Narcan.
I'd love to at least have the information to understand who it is you reach out to, and then we can take it back on our end and look at it, but I think that makes sense.
I think it would make sense. I think it would make sense, because it's not only homeless people, it could be.
I was gonna say,
Could
it
be
could
anybody.
be someone's kid, you know?
Yeah,
Hundred
exactly. So I mean, and every life is worth something, so homeless, not homeless,
That's right.
All right, Justine,
let's move along.
10 pages, 10 minutes, that's it.
That's it, 10 minutes.
Less than that,
All right, no, not yet, almost.
Less than
Not-
15 minutes late, so let's.
Less than that,
Let's
less
go.
than that, less than that. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you. I'm not gonna go through everything, but as for the record, we'll have this on our site, and Zach and Justine have it as well. I missed you all last month. I was remote just for a little bit, but I'm back now in full force. So first page, Zach, we can just scroll through the thing pretty quickly. You know about our winter calendar, obviously, all our events coming up. We have keepsakes, family workshops for Guatemala coming up on the 24th, and then for Ireland on March 9th. Black History Month is in full swing. We have our last event for that on the 27th. And we have our annual art exhibition, which is a very popular one. A lot of the folks who participate in Battery Park City Authority-led art programs have their art on display. The closing ceremony is next Wednesday, the 28th. Okay, next page. Thanks to all of you who participated in our November 30th Northwest Battery Park City Resiliency Project meeting. You will see, perhaps not by accident, in the bottom right, there's a great picture of Zach Bomber looking very thrilled to be there, and Justine Kuchia. That was actually really well attended, both in person and online. Our next touch point for the benefit of everyone here will be at the March 18th Environmental Protection Committee meeting. We'll be going through additional reaches for the project, and that is in advance of some additional public engagement we're going to have coming up later in the spring, both the next steps on the environmental impact statement and the next stage in the design milestone. So more to come on that, but I wanted to make sure we always make it a point to report on that. Next one on the South Project, as you know or may have heard, there were some emails about this too, Justine, as well, so I'll share that with the group. But we have at long last achieved the very coveted wedge verification. That's Waterfront Edge Design Guidelines from Waterfront Alliance, which is a very strict process of assessing resiliency projects and how they necessitate or how they facilitate access to the waterfront. We're very pleased that we got that verification from Water for Alliance. There are some links there. And at the bottom, I've linked, and I will share it with the community board as well. There's a YouTube video of Gwen and some of the project team walking through with the Alliance some of the considerations that went into getting that very coveted verification. So I won't belabor it, but that's linked for you there. Next page, there's Zach, and thank you. Just for the benefit of the group, we put out regular advisories about construction going on for the South Project. This is relatively minor in the grand scheme, but there is a temporary portion of the parking lane there on the parking lane only on Battery Place to facilitate some of the construction going on in Wagner Park. So that map is there, and that's linked also to our site. If you want to get added to the list of the regular construction updates, let me know, and we put those out regularly, at least 2 weeks, sometimes more frequently if they're traffic advisors, but there's a regular 2-week interval with what to expect for the construction going on for the South.
Knows, is OPS?
Yeah, we're in regular contact with them. I will
In the
reach-
museum, right?
Museum
Let
knows for
them
sure.
know, because I
Yeah.
can't tell where it is.
Yeah,
but
that little
across the
orange
street.
rectangle, it's only a couple of spots. You'll see a little orange rectangle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the lane that's just cordoned off there for construction. Yeah.
But okay, no, thank you,
Schools
but
that
just
flock up.
keep aware of that.
Yep. And Katie McDougal, who's the new Rick Fogarty, I believe she's on schedule, probably back maybe next month for her
Mhm.
regular bi-monthly
That's
kind of
perfect,
just
yeah.
review if that
That's
works.
perfect,
But we'll be
yeah.
in touch about the agenda, which is actually gonna be back to, I guess, in 2 weeks.
You are gonna be back, yeah, March 7th, I think, is that
I'll
our
keep it
meeting,
short.
sorry.
Yeah, be
But,
sorry.
yeah.
She may have something to just wash her hair.
Mhm.
Okay, public art on video, we have the new links there, we can go through that, next page. Scam alert is still, people should be aware of, I don't want to belabor, but we've asked the first precinct, this was still relevant, but again, the lesson there is, if someone comes up to you saying, oh, can you make a donation to my basketball team or whatnot, and please give me your phone, and don't give
Yeah,
anybody your
yeah,
phone.
they're not, right?
So at the bottom of the page, I just put as a new community reminder, we have these each month, but I put in specifically there for the benefit of the committee, community reminder, homeless assistance. And I've linked some resources there for folks who either see someone who looks like they may be in need of assistance and can use this, and can use homeless outreach. Pat went into this as reported there as well. I've also linked some resources there. If you are, in need of help yourself, there's some linked information there about shelters, drop-in centers, and pathway home program. So just that's linked, and I'll keep that up there because that's a growing problem for folks, and I just want to make sure they have the resources that are available.
And
No one's in it alone, whether it be the authority in kind of making sure the neighborhood is safe,
Which is
or
good.
anybody who may be experiencing that, you're not alone. There are resources there to help.
And I learned today that if you call 911, they ask you, do you need police, fire, or medical? So that would be also something if you're seeing.
Yeah,
somebody.
because I want to make sure that then when they're responding, it's to emergencies,
An
or if it's
emergency.
not, it's something that's.
Exactly.
Okay, next page there, Zach, we're going through it quickly. This is just our parks happenings, which we do every month. You can read that at your leisure. We've linked a couple of nice things, but we have our composting. Obviously, we have our tree trimming program. Thank you. We did over 2,000 trees this year from people donating their Christmas trees, and that, as you know, gets turned into mulch to in turn then beautify the gardens of Battery Park City. One really interesting thing, I linked it there, so I won't go into huge detail, but you know about our dog waste composting program. What was really cool was that the American Kennel Club recently had a Meet the Breed event up at the Javits Center.
Mhm.
And because we coordinated with them, we were able to pick up the dog waste from that event
Bring it
and
to
then
your
compost it back here. So it was
That's
really
kinda
kind
gross,
of.
but okay.
How did you transport that?
Right. We did have to use gasoline powered car to do it.
No, it's actually, no.
Like a whose
jump in that
car was it? Yeah.
but it was a really nice thing to kind of, we continue to spread kind of the gospel of sustainability.
Pun intended.
Pun intended.
Yeah.
So next page there, Zach, just really quick. These are just some highlights from the events we had, our Valentine's making workshop, our chef talk, the opening reception and keepsakes, and pioneers of public art. That's all there for you if you want to just go through the highlights. Next page. Our upcoming board meetings, we have our lost and found contact information and the Allied Universal Command Center information, which Pat always said, but it's always in every report. There's the phone number, there's the email, there's the address. It's 24/7, 365, always available to call with issues. Or if you're walking in the neighborhood and you say, hey, I can use an escort home, that's what our ambassadors are there to do, that among many other things.
That is, you started pushing that out there.
That's always something that they're available.
I think that's great. That's a great thing for,
Been in
you
the
know,
park,
annoying children.
they're like,
Walk around the
it's a little
neighborhood.
dark, would you mind walking with me? And we've had, safety ambassadors escort them to their door.
They are ambassadors and we want to make sure that they,
That's a nice,
folks in the neighborhood know.
that would be
Good for
some,
the Gateway Plaza
Yeah.
Tenants newsletter.
that would
That's
be,
the thing.
that would be good for, I mean, to put it out there as
But
a
don't,
thing.
yeah,
Or
don't,
maybe even in the community board newsletter.
don't hesitate to call. That's what that number is there for. And that's what the.
Like if I'm out, like walking the dog and I'm feeling a little nervous,
Nervous?
I can ask an ambassador to walk me back to Gateway. That's a
100%.
pleasant thing to know. Because sometimes I am out there late at
See?
night walking the
They
dog.
will ask you.
And you get nervous?
Sometimes it's very desolate. I don't think I would get that nervous.
I don't
but
think
Still.
you get that.
Medically, I could get nervous.
The capability is there and they're
But so
accessible to you.
that's there, should I actually get nervous?
Very briefly now, just wrapping it up, we pushed our board meeting schedule out in advance, usually toward
Thank you.
December at the end of every year. But one thing I did want to note is that there's been a change in date to our March meeting. I think it was March 6th. It's been pushed back, but it's March 21st. I noted it there.
Mhm.
And the full schedule for the rest of the year is listed. First Precinct Community Council, which we know is the last Thursday of the month. That's the 29th, which is a week from now. Next page, Zach, we're getting to the end, I promise. Is, okay, we have our neighborhood coordination officers there. I did put in there on Roman numeral 9. Those were from our friends at MTA, but I did want to push out the information about the congestion pricing public review meetings that was
Yeah.
happening in February and March. That's verbatim from what they sent, but there's information there about where to get more information online, the dates of the meetings, where they're going to be placed. They're also going to be live streamed on YouTube, so you can tune in that way. And then the public is invited to submit comments in any which way, online, by email, phone, fax, through March 11th, and all the information about where to submit those comments is listed there as well. And then the last thing I would add is we're going to be back to you, I said, in 2 weeks' time, but we're going to be talking about a very exciting event, the
That's
Energy
the-
Observer,
Mhm.
which is a completely sustainable waterborne vessel that's making its way from France over to New York City on its last stop before it goes to the Olympics.
Oh,
It's
wow.
going to be in North Cove
Wow.
Arena, and it really is I think, a really nice opportunity for an educational experience, both for the community, local students, et cetera.
Yeah.
Like that.
That's in April, but Brookfield and the group from the Energy Observer will be joining us
On the March 7th
in
meeting.
March 7th to give you guys some advance notice about what it's going to entail. But it's really, it hits on a lot of sweet spots, sustainability, and just in time for Earth Month as it works out, because it's going to happen during
So
April.
question for that.
Yeah.
So you say it's open to the public, it says it there too. How, you just walk in? What if there's a big crowd? Like, you know,
They're going to go through it. I think
So
it's two
explain
things. The vessel itself has some limited, because it's not as
Yeah,
big,
yeah,
but there's
yeah.
going to be also like an activation right next to it on the Waterfront Plaza, where it's like you can walk in and like learn about all of.
I mean, that would be
what
cool,
it
because, go ahead, you want to say something, Gabby, say it.
No, I'm good. I was just wondering where it was gonna be exactly.
Yeah, it's so in the marina, the vessel will be in the marina,
Mm.
and then next to the marina, there's what we call Waterfront Plaza, which is right in front of it. Like basically behind Brookfield, but right along the water in that area. But we'll get the specifics about where the activation will be. But that'll be open over the course of the run, which is April, I think roughly April 10th to the 22nd.
22nd,
More details to come on that.
which is good. No,
But I wanted to tease it now because that's the only thing we have coming up in the next couple of months.
what I was gonna just say was that, sorry, Tara, was that, like with tennis or whatever other stuff that's out there, it's really difficult to sign up for anything, because as soon as you just go online, it's gone.
Right.
So if this is the kind of thing where, it sounds great, and if you're gonna invite the schools, give them a slot.
Yeah,
I mean, we
yeah.
can talk about it next week, but that's or 2 weeks, whatever. But that would be a really nice thing to make some room for the local schools or make some room for the
Right.
community to say,
EPC
here.
committee, EPC, I think there's a lot of folks who might be interested in what's
Yeah.
going on. And it's that time of year when people are thinking about Earth Day or Earth
Yes,
Week.
Exactly, no,
So
so
it's a
this
really
is a
nice,
very
and
cool
it's a nice
thing.
opportunity that they're coming from all the places in the United States, they're coming
Yeah, they're
here
coming here,
before
right,
they make their last stop on the way back to France.
I love
because
that,
we're so cool.
yeah, exactly, yeah, that's very.
And I think that was the long and short of it.
Bravo.
Wow.
One
minute,
that's not.
Questions? I feel the
Right,
questions.
anybody have any questions in the room? Anybody online? No, okay, good, thank you so much, Betty, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Betty.
you, everybody, Betty, feel better.
Hi, Betty.
Bye, everybody.